Yeah, so I've been watching this Avatar thing on Netflix. I knew I was going to watch it because it's Avatar, so I checked it out. So you guys know I love Avatar, right? The Last Airbender, the animated series. So obviously I was going to check out the Netflix, but obviously with Netflix live action, there's always a certain amount of trepidation because of Cowboy Bebop. I watched the first episode and I liked it. I liked it quite a bit. And I was like, okay, I see what they're doing. Like in that first episode, they kind of focused on Aang's relationship with Gyatso. And I thought that that was the strongest moment in the show. The stuff with Sokka and Katara wasn't as strong, but I liked it. It was a good recap of that first episode. And then I don't like the guy who's playing Zuko too much, the actor. And the guy who's playing Uncle Iroh, I'm like, he's growing on me. But I started watching the second episode and I stopped. And then somebody told me that they had binged it. So I'm like, all right, they really liked it. So I'm like, all right, let me give it a shot.
So it's not like not weekly.
No, it's all out. It looks like all the episodes are out. You can watch all 8 episodes. And that worried me because it's a smaller season for Avatar, given that like the first, I think originally it was like 20 episodes.
How long are the episodes on Netflix?
They're about 45 minutes.
Okay, so it's like double.
Yeah. Well, it works out in that the original, so the cartoon would have been like 20, 25 minutes per episode. So you're getting like maybe 2 episodes condensed into like, or 2 episodes in one. And that's kind of the way it feels. They've altered a lot of the narratives. So a lot of things work together and it works kind of like a highlight reel. The one with the Kyoshi Warriors was really, really good. Like I really enjoyed that.
If I remember, that was first season, right?
This is all for, I think this is all first. These are all first season characters. You get, I don't want to give too much away. For a lot of characters pop up from the show, and even things that I wasn't expecting. Like there's a band that pops up. The Cabbage Guy pops up. So definitely for the fans of the original, because a lot of little things pop up where you're just like, ah. Yeah, there was some characters where it's like, I'm glad they were there, but I did not expect them to be there at all. So that's really cool. As of like, I'm halfway through the 4th episode. So as of right now, I'm kind of happy with what they've done. Head and shoulders way, way better than what they did with Cowboy Bebop. Yeah, this is good. Way more. Some of the writing could be a little bit better, but like I said, all the characters are starting to grow on me. And there's not as much character development, but this is still just the first season. There's little things where like Katara gets her waterbending scroll. Like that's a whole side story with like pirates and
right.
Yeah, and the original, and this one that's cut down to like, you know, her grandma put it in a bag. You know. Yeah. Which is kind of weird because I'm listening to the Harry Potter novels on Audible. And yeah, it's fun to see like what they kept, what they cut, and what they changed in order to do this on a different scale with the movies. And I kind of feel like that's what they did with Avatar. It's like they took this like animated novel, which kind of like what Avatar, like they even call it like book 1, book 2, book 3. They kind of took this and like shifted it into like a condensed form, like almost a highlight reel of the most important like character beats.
Right.
Like this is when Aang, you know, goes to when they meet the Kyoshi Warriors and he meets the Avatar and they, you know, they have that conversation and it's really intense. It's really cool.
Okay. And so the main character itself, like no qualms, no.
Aang?
Yeah.
The kid who plays him, the first episode was a little rough. But then, like I said, it's starting to grow on me. They get the humor. I love that they get the humor because that was something that was really missing from the movie.
And
yeah. And it's
I was about to say.
I still, the movie doesn't exist.
No shame in that. I agree.
Yeah.
The movie doesn't exist. I can't remember a single thing from the movie.
I only use it as a comparison because it was live action.
I don't think it's fair to compare it. Even at this point, I don't think it's fair to compare it to the movie.
Well,
Because we all know like how awful.
Well, this is 100 times better than the movie.
Yeah.
Like I said, it's better than the Cowboy Bebop adaptation of that show.
yeah.
This show is like already succeeding in my mind because it manages to be better than the movie, B, better than the Cowboy Bebop fiasco, and so it's like it's doing great.
And Netflix is taking notes finally, and you can bunch it with One Piece. Yu Yu Hakusho, I've yet to hear like a solid review of it, like a fair review of it.
Somebody told me they weren't happy with it.
Okay.
Somebody at work.
Oh,
told me
what
they
was it,
weren't happy
Jesse?
with it.
More to think about it? Did he mention
No.
that? Okay.
Did he mention that?
I thought he did.
Did he mention Yu Yu Hakusho?
I don't remember.
I don't remember. He might have.
My sister's watching the One Piece, which kind of surprised me because she's never shown any interest in One Piece, but she's watching the live action One Piece.
Yeah, I know a couple people that said they've never watched One Piece, but they'll watch the live action One Piece.
Yeah, and Martin liked One Piece. I remember now too.
So,
And Short Round's the one who told me that she binged Avatar, and so that was interesting.
Did she watch the original as well? Yeah. Okay, yeah. So it sounds like a solid endorsement.
Yeah,
it's one that they got right
I think so.
thus far.
But it definitely, because it's shortened, and I wanted to talk to you guys about that, like with these adaptations, because I'm starting to notice that they have to have kind of a shorthand in storytelling because they're only doing a certain number. There's a certain narrative that you can fit within 2 hours, and there's a certain narrative that you can fit within 6 episodes, and there's a certain narrative that you can fit within 8.
Yeah.
And so there has to be a certain shorthand, and that's what I'm noticing with Avatar. It's like as they play through the characters, there are certain scenes that play out, and you're like, is this playing out because this is the way it should have played out, or is this the way it's playing out because they only have a certain number of episodes?
Well, that's because, to Jack's point, with Netflix, you never know.
Yeah, you just don't know.
No.
You never know.
No.
Like, they might order a second season after the thing debuts for 24 hours, or it could be 3 years later, and they say, yeah, we're going to come out with the second season, and it just doesn't show up. So it's like, so I understand that, because it's just like, all right, how do we balance this?
Yeah.
Because it's streaming. It's not like TV where it's like, all right, you get this season. All right, this season's well, we're ordering 3 more. All right, now I know I had time to flesh this out. But Netflix would just go, nah, I'm done.
Yeah. And it's weird too because it's like, what does Netflix choose to focus on?
Right.
Like when we were talking about what anime were we talking? Well, we were talking about Kamui Can't Communicate.
Mm-hmm.
Does studios choose to focus on Kamui,
Right.
or does it choose to focus on like properties that are hot and coming out and like?
Yeah.
Because we were talking how they were doing Delicious in Dungeon.
Right.
Now, Delicious in Dungeon really isn't a hot property. It's like a 10-year-old manga. So it's like, how do you make the choice to go to a 10-year-old manga when you had like, okay, Komi is more modern. It's the way that Mushiko Tensei is the grandfather of Isekai. Delicious in Dungeon is kind of like the grandfather of like food, you know,
Dungeon
fantasy food. Yeah.
Dungeon dwelling.
Yeah, that fantasy food trope that is getting more and more popular now, but wasn't. Like, this is kind of like the granddaddy of it.
And Studio Trigger is notorious for, like, we got to finish this. We got to wrap this up.
Yeah, he had to go there.
He's back on Trigger.
Yep.
Oh, yeah. Because Trigger finally bounced back.
He's back on Trigger.
Well, you know, after the and this is in quotations, the Edge Runner fiasco of 2022.
The Jack Edge Runner meltdown.
Bequoathed. I was bequoathed with that winner.
All those
2023.
all those e-girls that destroyed Jack and his love of Trigger.
No, bye.
Jack's Edge Runner breakdown.
Yeah. Jack's like, don't bring that up, please.
And
Well,
sadly,
that was
you all
2023.
Sadly, you all didn't hear half of it. You all did not hear half of it because this was all through like text messages and Instagram DMs and stuff.
Oh my God.
One day I'll have the kudos to finally have a proper argument over Cyberpunk Edge Runners.
Let's not. Let's just say c'est la vie.
C'est la vie.
We'll bury it.
All right.
We'll let it go. We'll leave it alone. Yep.
But yeah, with Komi Can't Communicate, that one is going to be 33, 34, 35 volumes in Japan. They've done 24 episodes so far on Netflix, but it's been 2 years since the second season. Will they, like, you know what? Let's do another 2 seasons. We'll do another 3 seasons, but it's not done yet. What if that crucial 6th season comes and they're like, ooh, we don't have the money. Sorry, guys. Sorry, Kamui fans. And Delicious Dungeons, well, like with Trigger, like I said, they can wrap it up, and I'll be perfectly fine with that. Like, if they just do their own thing.
Well, then you might end up with something weird like Horimiya, where, you know, they rush through and cut so much out just so that they could say, hey, we're going to get this out. We're going to do in a certain number of episodes. We're going to cut all this stuff out. And it's like, well, going back to Avatar, it's like, what do you pick to include and what do you pick to cut? And then you end up with something weird like Horimiya that like ends up nominated for like best romance of the year, but like is so disjointed where it's like, all right, do I need to like watch like certain episodes of the first season, then jump into this and then go back and forth, because out of context, it just doesn't have the same magic.
Yeah. And, you know, sometimes again, it's like, it's not always on the streamer.
Yeah.
Because we have to really consider, for us, it's streaming, but if you're in Japan, it's coming on television.
Yeah.
So it could also depend on them, because if they haven't ordered it yet, it's not like Netflix could be like, where's it at? Where's it at?
Yeah.
It's not on television now. So there's a lot more that we have to consider that's outside of just us. We got to consider what's going on in Japan where it's being aired. So...
Yeah, and we mentioned before how that buffer, who's making the money over those trades. Like, not exactly the studios, not exactly Netflix, so it's like a weird buffer.
Well, I think that's something that we'd have to research because I don't know how Japanese public television works. Because that was one of the things that they got into it with Netflix, over Netflix having commercials. Essentially, they'd be making additional revenue off of something that's aired for free in Japan. So it's like, it comes into question. It's like, all right, so how do the studios make money off of this? Does the Japanese government pay for anime? It's like, it becomes like,
And with that Miyazaki documentary, how I mentioned like the NHK is like waving their finger at Ghibli. Who knows? It sounds like it's a government assisted with their media distribution. And
which would make sense, because they're really involved in people's lives. They have a lot of like, because we were having a discussion about their food regulations.
Yes.
Yeah. There are people who really like regulate and plan in ways that I don't think that Americans would even begin to understand.
And I don't blame them in a weird way.
Yeah.
But it's still control. Yeah.
Well, it's control, but I think it's for the public good. Instead of here where it's like a free for all, like, hey guys,
COVID!
Hey, no regulations. Do what you want. Yeah. But then it's like, okay, you know, how many outbreaks of, you know, Yeah. It's like, you know,
food safety regulated here. Have what you want. Yeah. You don't have to cook that.
No, do what you want.
Eat it extra. Eat it fresh off the ground if you want to. But it's like you said, they regulate it, so it's like it's safer, it's healthier.
Yeah. And same thing with their media.
Yeah. Oh, Jack, I have something very important to tell you. So I taught Christina's niece the Cody Rhodes Whoa, and I taught her that you can't see me.
Whoa.
So like I played his WrestleMania interest for her before I left, and she was like, "Whoa."
I wonder if she'll like Demon Balor, like crawl like Demon Balor.
He might. I might have to do that. I might have to do that next.
You guys are nuts. This poor little girl.
Or then Jay Uso.
She goes like, yeah.
Or Jay Uso.
Yeah.
Yeet.
I'm gonna have to do that next.
This is her formative years, sir.
I'm a corrupter.
You are.
Starting with the some ketchups?
Yeah, sure.
Okay.
Well, you guys want me to start with the one for you guys?
Yeah, you can start with yours because yours is short.
Yeah, I only watched 2 episodes. So you guys talked about this Undead Unluck show and how much you liked it. So I watched the first 2 episodes and I'm like, this is batshit crazy.
Yeah.
I'm like, this show is nuts.
I only saw the first 2 as well because I'm hoping for a deep dive.
Yeah, I think we said we're going to deep dive with Jesse about it.
Yeah, this is
because he loves that show.
I didn't know what the hell I was watching with this.
See, you can't. The first 2 episodes don't do the show justice.
I agree.
I agree.
Yeah.
because like it completely shifts.
Yeah,
after the first
and the
couple
first
episodes.
episode's not that good. The second one's better. I'll take that take.
By the second episode, the chemistry between the two characters is kind of like getting established.
Yeah.
Like the first one, I'm like, this guy just seems like if Deadpool had a baby with the Terminator, and like this guy is just like, I watch a lot of anime.
But how much can you watch?
Physics doesn't always play into it, but I don't even understand what this guy is. Like, he makes Wolverine and Deadpool look like they're chumps as far as how much he can regenerate.
Yeah.
And the comfort that he has with his nudity and the discomfort that it is for the audience, that's a lot of fun.
Yeah.
That's a lot of fun. It's pretty hilarious. They play it for pretty good laughs.
Yeah.
Her story is kind of like uber tragic.
Very much so.
Yeah, like to the point where it's like tonally, it's a weird fit for his bombastic kind of like blood squirting, like let me launch off this roof into like the stratosphere, like yeah, like I'm essentially a jet plane fueled by my blood.
Yeah.
That's insane.
She reminds me of Twice from My Hero Academia, the villain Twice. Kind of like that type of like, ooh, that is a bad background, but we'll see.
Yeah.
How tragic really it is.
Yeah.
And like I think Jesse and I mentioned this during his episode. Like the fact that she's 18 makes their interact a little less uneasy.
Yeah, this is
Because if she was
at least they were sensible about
underaged,
that. Yeah,
it'll be very uncomfortable.
especially if he's naked all the time.
But it's
Yeah.
like she's 18, she's seen some things, and it's just like, okay, she's okay.
Yeah. Well, it's still uncomfortable.
It's still uncomfortable,
But at least it's
and she feels that discomfort.
funny. Yeah.
But
Well, she feels it, and you definitely feel it.
yeah,
I love that he has a sword in his head.
that plays a role later on.
Yeah. Well, it played a role like at that moment too, because it's like he would be overwhelmed by the amount of memories that he's had. And I found that to be really interesting, especially for a character who's like lived for more than like, it seems like 200 years. So I found that to be really interesting. And I go back to what you're saying. Yeah. A lot of like anime, like the first 2 or 3 episodes are usually establishing like the characters and what's going on and what's the world is like. And so usually that once that arc is over, you definitely jump into something different. So I can see how that would be totally different going forward.
I think it's around episode 3 or 4 where it just
Yeah.
and it kind of shoots off into the actual story.
Yeah.
Yeah, Eminence as well is kind of like that. The first 2 introducing of the world arcs as well, and then the finale of the first arc. You're like,
Because this show, I've kept up with this show, and
How many episodes are there now?
it was
Ooh.
completed.
No,
Or no,
it's
it's
not.
oh, you're right. It's
ongoing.
It's
Yeah,
ongoing. I think they're on 20.
Yeah.
Wow.
And that's another reason why I stopped. I'm like, oh, it's still going past winter. So I'm like, oh,
Yeah, how many of these shows are like, we're not used to this. We're getting spoiled by
I
these.
know.
Yeah. That winter 2023 was.
Yeah. Apothecary Diaries, Freenan. Yeah. All of those shows.
Yeah, they're on
There's
episode-
something
they're on
else.
episode 20.
Shangri-La Frontier.
Yeah.
These are all shows that just kept going. Like we get 2 seasons worth of shows, and it's like that's just spoiling us rotten.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe they're doing well on TV.
Well, yeah, these are all great shows.
Yeah.
Boom for a reason.
Yeah.
All right,
I
Jamaal.
love that show.
You had 2 catch-ups for Jack.
I have 2 catch-ups for Jack. All right. My first one, I stayed up to 4:00 in the morning watching this.
Wow, Jack, just for you.
Because I started it a long time ago, or like not a long time ago, but a while ago. And I got about half an hour into it. And then I was like, all right, I want to finish this. Stayed up to 4:00 in the morning doing this for you, Jack. What is it? Shizume? The movie?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
I watched that one.
Well, I'll spoil this. The only spoiler I'll share for Crunchyroll Anime Awards, it's the winner of Best Feature Film.
Why did you spoil it?
Yeah, why?
Oh, well,
Why did you spoiled it for both of us,
He
man.
just ruined the next segment.
oh, just
But it's
one.
okay.
Just one. That's the only one I'll share.
It's okay. He couldn't help it. I kind of figured that was going to be it. Yeah, I watched this because I remember you saying that you watched it. I remember it being in the movie theaters, and I was like, maybe I'll go, and I never made it out. But once it got on Crunchyroll, I started it. And it was a good movie. Gorgeous, Very good looking movie.
Anime
her
movies
story's
usually
interesting.
are.
Well,
yeah.
Shinkai is like second coming of Miyazaki himself, literally. From Weathering with You to Your Voice. He's done about 6 features so far. And Suzume is my favorite of his bunch. I'm not crazy about Weathering with You. His others are great. One's called 5 centimeters per second. That's like his first project, and he's already like 20, 30, 40 years ahead of the game, animation-wise.
Oh, wow. Miyazaki would not agree with you.
Well, well, it was Suzume. It's definitely his love song with Miyazaki, ironically. And a close comparison I can think of is Spirited Away.
Oh, okay.
It does feel like a Miyazaki film.
Yeah, yeah.
It does have that kind of feel to it.
So he's like the spiritual successor.
Pretty much. I don't think he even worked for Ghibli, ironically enough. So, yeah.
So you want to give a little
Brief recap
Yeah,
of what the
brief
movie's
recap
about?
of the
Yeah, basically this girl, Suzume, she's been living in the countryside, and I'm trying to remember like the motions, because I still remember the visuals, but the motions. There's weird occurrences happening, and you know how Japan is. They kind of like announce it, and it's like, okay, whatever. You hear like television blip. Weird occurrences are happening around this region of Japan. Okay, whatever. So the story picks up where Suzume is going to school. I'm trying to remember, because I'm trying to remember how she got to the door.
she was going to school and what's his name? Sato. Sato was on the road and she was like captured by his beauty.
Yeah, beautiful boy.
And he was like, "Hey, you," and he was like, "Where are the ruins around here or something?" And she's like, "Well, there's an abandoned village over there." And he's like, "Thanks." And so she's still riding on her way to school, and she's like, "Why would somebody want to go to those abandoned ruins?" And so she decides, "I'm going to ditch school. I'm going to go back to the abandoned ruins
Let's see what's up.
and see what's up," because he was gorgeous. And that's how she got there.
Yeah. And then this portal, similar Alice in Wonderland, Weathering with You has a similar plot too, where things go haywire.
Well, this is the one where she's running around trying to close all those doors, right?
Yes.
Yes,
Okay.
Yes.
And a theme with it is global warming, but also Japan's secrets. Let's put it that way. Like tragic events that they kind of like ignore, like
Glossed over and
yes,
like,
yes.
yeah, let's forget this happened.
Yeah, but how she gets to these places and how she, partially how she travels fast is over this magical item that happens to lead her on to these places.
Okay.
The white rabbit, as it were.
So, yeah, it was a really good movie. I really enjoyed it, man. I pretty much was able to watch it straight through.
At the moment, it's on Crunchyroll, if I'm not mistaken, right?
It's on Crunchyroll. It is available on Crunchyroll. I watched about half, and then I forced myself to try to fall asleep.
It's a chill movie. Yeah.
Yeah, so this is a rare moment where I like didn't need to fall asleep on a movie, and I forced myself to fall asleep. And then when I picked it up when I got home yesterday to finish it, just straight through. You know me, I fall asleep on movies like that. So for me to like sit through a movie shows a lot. And you know, like you said, the story was really good, very engaging. It felt like a Ghibli film from Miyazaki. It actually probably looked a little better.
It did. And as another comparison with Spirited Away with Miyazaki is Boy and the Heron. I love Suzume a million times more. Because Boy and the Heron, it's more complicated. It doesn't have a straight focus. Suzume does. So
Suzume does. She gets around pretty quickly. She runs a lot. She's never out of breath. She's never out of breath.
The joys of being young, yeah.
Yeah.
She meets a lot of people along the way, and they really help her out.
Well, especially if you're in the countryside, the bumpkins. So, yeah.
Especially when you're in the countryside, because she's just running around out there, and it's just like, hey, give me a what is the thing called when they're on the side of the road and they're like, give me a lift?
Oh, the hitchhiking.
Hitchhiking.
Yeah. One was a biker, and that was a cool character.
She's hitchhiking, and then there was the mom with the kids that just pick her up, and then she's like, oh, I don't have a babysitter. Well, you just watch my kids.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then
You get recruited.
after she watches the kids, she's like, no, come help me at the bar.
Yeah. It kind of mixes,
Now you have a job.
Yeah, right.
it kind of mixes in a road movie kind of feel. Like the characters, you get to love the characters naturally.
A
that way.
journey, yeah.
Yeah. And then she goes on a journey to the next spot, and that's when she meets Sato's friend.
Yeah.
So yeah, these people just along the way are just helping her. No, before that she met the girl.
I'm thinking the boat.
Um,
Or that's the biker.
yeah, that's the biker girl.
Yeah.
When she dropped the oranges, and they like helped her get the oranges back. what was it? Was it Chisato?
Yeah, Chisato was the second character.
Yeah, I think it was Chisato because I was like, ooh, Licorice Recoil. So yeah, Chisato.
And she's dressed like the main character in Spirited Away.
Yeah, and they became like fast friends. And she invited her into her home and gave her a place to stay and food and everything. So it's like you see this girl going on this journey, but she's constantly having these flashbacks.
There you go. Yeah.
From when she was a kid, and during another time when these weird occurrences happened and she lost her mom. So you see her going on this journey where she's kind of finding herself as she's going through and meeting all these different people and closing these doors. So the way we're telling it isn't like
it's hard. It's hard to like go point to point with this one.
Like the way we're describing it isn't going to be a way for you to go see the movie.
Yes,
but it's a movie that you should see because we just don't want to get too much away.
Yeah. Because
if we say things, it kind of gives away the whole.
And the
plot.
big secret's worth it. It really is. So
yeah.
Well, it sounds like a coming of age story.
Yeah.
A bit of one. Mm-hmm. A bit of one.
Yeah.
And one I recommend too, the pair with this one is Belle, which came out a year prior, which has a similar like plot thread. Different like subject matter and different here and there other things, but overall both are like 1 and 2.
But that's also a fantasy.
Yeah, well, a digital fantasy, and that other director, he's done similar movies in that theme of time and digital world travel, whereas Shinkai is more of a natural with the fantasy. So both guys are compared a lot, but both have different trajectories. But if I had it, like if they're best friends over these two movies. So besides Miyazaki, those are two others to check out.
Good bookends for each other.
Oh yeah, very much so.
And if you all can't tell, Jack is a huge cinephile.
Oh yeah,
and he loves his foreign films.
Yes,
and we're going to eventually spin off the 950 Club into like a
Criterion
cinema.
collection.
A cinema podcast. Yeah. It's coming forth. We're going to have the cinema podcast. We're going to have the wrestling podcast. We're going to have Edwin and Alberto Star Wars podcast. We're going to have it all.
The High Ground. That's the test project title.
The High Ground. Oh,
we'll think about it. You can't tell them what their title's going to be.
No. I think Younglings Need Not Apply would be a good title.
My young Padawan.
Yeah.
No, Younglings. Yeah,
Younglings Need Not Apply. That's good.
Do not enter Younglings.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Well, alrighty. Thank you for that, Jamaal. That's a wonderful film, man. You gotta check it out, Edwin.
Yes. Oh, I have one more.
Well, you be honest. If you saw it, you saw it.
Did you enjoy it or not enjoy it?
But I know he's gonna like fanboy out when I say this.
Oh, he's gonna gush, huh?
Yeah. Perfect Blue.
Perfect Blue. Okay. Another master. The one that's might be considered more of a pioneer compared to Miyazaki in a weird way.
I was talking to one of your former coworkers, Derek Joseph Quint.
Oh yeah.
Would like to be on the show, and we talked about Perfect Blue. We talked about Tokyo Godfathers because one of the ones that I really wanted his input on was
Paprika.
No, the show.
Oh, the show, Paranoia Agent.
Paranoia Agent, because such an amazing show, and like since Derek's an actual independent filmmaker who studied film, and you're such a cinephile, I would love to see you guys talk about like that show and like not only the context within history about the world wars, but about nuclear weapons
in modern Japan.
In modern Japan, how that all works into modern Japan. I think would be an interesting discussion for our listeners. But you watched Perfect Blue, Jamaal, and how did you feel about this?
Well,
Jack's response was balanced, by the way.
You can look. This is why we need visuals when we record, because Jack did his absolute best to hold in his emotions.
He really did. He really did.
Because
and that was one of the most balanced responses. He did not do his little chair dance. He did not jump up. So we got to give him props.
I give him props. That's why I leaned into it. I said, I know he's going to fanboy about this.
Well, Perfect Blue is the perfect Toshio Shikan movie. My favorite is Tokyo Godfathers for movies. And this is a guy that, if you pick one out of the hat, it'll be your favorite, similar to Miyazaki. Perfect Blue is like the unanimous number one for a lot of fans. So
this movie's insane.
It is.
You didn't see. This is
All of his stuff. Jack picks out stuff that's not like
See, this is the dichotomy
quintessential.
of Jack.
Yeah, the
This is
quintessential
the dichotomy
Jack,
of Jack, because Jack in real life he's very like regimented, very structured, very even keel. This movie is the complete opposite of who Jack is.
With like Kill la Kill.
Kill
Kill la Kill is one of the most
Yes.
bombastic, insane, off the wall, batshit crazy shows I've ever seen. And it's like, how does this fit with Jack's personality?
And I'll vouch for Paprika because Paprika is 10 times more crazier.
Paprika is a lot of fun.
So
That one
like,
I've seen. Yeah.
so like whenever I watch this and I'm like, this is so counter Jack, but it is so Jack at the same time because it's so absurd and way off the grid that it just draws Jack in. So I'm watching this and I'm just not ready for some of the stuff that's happening.
No.
Because it's very graphic.
Yeah.
But I watched this because when we did our catch up on Oshinoko, you mentioned this thing like 18 times. And I said, I'm going to watch this for Jack.
Yeah.
I'm going to watch this for Jack. And so I went through my friends in China.
Oh, nice.
My friends in China. And I went to my app and it was on there. And I was like, I'm going to watch this. And I watched it. And I'm like, oh, okay. This is telling you the story about the idol culture in Japan.
In the industry. Yep.
Cool. I get it. I can watch this. And then it just gets darker and darker and darker.
Oh, yeah.
And darker and darker. And then when we get to the trigger warning. And then when we got to the rape scene. So this girl is a teen idol in a pop group, a teen idol pop group in Japan. And the movie starts off where her manager wants her to become a movie star, to become like a bigger star. She has to announce that she's leaving the group. And then some fans are rowdy in the crowd and some disturbance happens. And she's not able to say that this is going to be her last show. Her bandmates have to say this is going to be her last show. So then she starts doing this movie or this TV show and she gets like a line. And the manager's pushing her to do more. And all this stuff is happening behind the scenes where people are dying.
Murders.
Murders because essentially this like super stan of hers. Think like Beyonce Beehive member. What's that show called?
Oh, yeah.
What's that show on Amazon?
But it's like a obsessed super fan stalker.
Yes.
Incel, you know. This movie is way ahead of its time because, like we discussed with Paranoid Agent, how Satoshi Kon has a perfect commentary with a lot of modern day Japan and entertainment culture as well. He saw the thin line between act and no act. Like, this is what it really is. The people in the audience are the ones absorbing this.
Well, they want to sell that false delusion to people.
Precisely.
And people get wrapped up in the delusion.
Yes.
And that's why they don't tell them that they're dating. It's very, like, their lives are very structured, and what they reveal and won't reveal is very controlled too, because they want the fans to kind of have that kind of like pseudo relationship with them. And like that's how they continue to like get money from them and get them to like come to the venues, and like the promise of like, hey, look, you know,
Reveal the curtain.
yeah, that's like not prostitution but kind of prostitution, where it's
Oh,
like
OnlyFans.
well, they're not selling the body as much as they're selling the idea of the relationship.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
I guess you kind of say like OnlyFans.
No, well, that's why it's ahead of its
because
time.
you could like sign up for somebody's OnlyFans and they'll like DM you, but you ain't going nowhere.
Well, that's before OnlyFans kind of like dipped into like the territory of like
and it's how it's modern today.
Well, and to be fair, OnlyFans is like more than just that, because I know like comedians put their comedy specials on there.
And
now
Patreon's
and
kind of Patreon's like
I think Patreon a little bit more.
Yeah.
A little bit more. I think Patreon a little bit more than OnlyFans. I think OnlyFans got a little bit more extreme to the point where it's like it is more of the body than the relationship. Or
True.
Yeah.
depending on the person.
Yes.
So Swarm on Amazon Prime. Think like that.
Oh, Swarm, the Beyonce, yeah.
Yeah. So the show on Amazon Prime, Swarm, where it's like the Beyonce superfan killing people. Think that in Japan. That's what this movie is.
Yep.
Right? And so she finds out that somebody's writing a blog and pretending to be her. and saying all this stuff about her, and she's like going deeper and deeper into like
Madness.
dark madness because this person is essentially like writing her life,
Becoming her own persona.
and becoming her own persona. Exactly.
Yeah.
And so this was before, like, I have to keep in context when this was made.
Around 1998.
Yeah, because I'm like,
Which is absolutely terrifying to see something that predicted so much.
Yeah.
Yes.
And similar paranoid agent as well, like how cell phones and technology and miscommunication will be the number one prime problem today. So,
it's terrifying.
yeah.
Because, like, in my mind, I'm just like, just tell the police this dude. But I had to keep in mind when this was made.
Well, in horror movies in general, there's like, you have to suspend your belief.
Well, I ain't worried about that.
I'm just saying.
So, like, it's like, because I had this discussion with Christina not too long ago. Because, you know, people be like, I don't know, somebody's nudes got leaked.
Oh, yeah. Any celebrity you can think of in general.
Who was it? That annoying white girl that does the interviews that, like,
For sports? Or
no, she does, like, she interviews people and she's like the white funny Marco.
I don't know.
I know Bobby something, whatever her name is.
There.
So her thing's leaked. And so we were talking about it. She was like, well, I don't understand why people do that. If you're going to do that, don't show your face and blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, well, you know that now because you grew up with this technology.
Yeah.
But, like, when we were coming up, like, nobody knew.
Yeah.
You didn't know. You didn't really know, like, if I take this picture, somebody could upload this to some site.
It'll stay.
You know?
It'll stay.
Or
in blocks
it'll be there forever.
Yeah.
Or, like, do you know how long it would take for us to download one picture in 1998?
Yeah, dial up in general.
And with dial up, it took forever.
Try to print it out.
Yeah, it took forever.
And how LimeWire pretty much killed your computer from downloading all these files and cache. We didn't even understand the concept of cache for modern day users.
We didn't know a lot. So I'm like, when you're coming from that, so I had to put myself into that world where it's just like, oh, okay, now it's 98. It's dial up. This person is typing stuff on there. They're pretending that you're you. We don't really know that that's not you. We're just assuming that you're you. So, like, when I put myself to that world, I'm like, that is terrifying.
Yeah. And how he plays with it is ingenious and similar to, like, a lot of modern day horror films, like Hereditary.
What's psychological terror?
Yeah.
You know,
and this is number one in that genre for me. And it's one of those ones where, of course, their sensibilities out the door because this is a tragic character. And,
well, doesn't she try to commit suicide at some point in the film?
Well, there's instances, there's hints of it, but it's also, well, okay, let's backtrack a little bit because a film that copied this for formats.
Is that Insomnia? Or
No, Black Swan.
I was
Black
just
Swan,
about
Black
Swan.
And Natalie Portman's performance.
I don't know nothing about cinema, but I know that. Mostly because Jack has said it 18 times.
Yeah. And Satoshi Kon's the quiet inspiration for even Christopher Nolan and all these great directors.
Yeah.
And it's one of those things where Black Swan, how they do it, it's trying to be more of the human side of it, where this one's more of the psychological, the actual horror of these instances. You know, it's one of those experiences where it's only barely 70 minutes, 80 minutes long, but you're in for a ride. It's like a blink of an eye with this movie.
It is. It is.
And it makes you question things. It makes you question yourself on the internet today. I mean, identity's out the window nowadays.
Well, like, I remember reading these stories about these kids who were sending, like, nude photos of themselves over their phones and how, like, the schools wanted to expel them. And it was like, well, wait, hold on. This is something that all of these kids are doing.
Yeah.
You can't, like, you
can't
you have to reestablish your societal standards on this kind of thing because if you have 35 people in the classroom who are doing this, you can't say, hey, oh, we caught you, so we have to expel you.
They tried to do that to my cousin.
Yeah, see?
They tried to do that to my cousin.
Yeah.
Somebody's news got out there and everybody's sending it around. I don't know how somehow he got caught and they tried to expel him. But it's like you said, I mean, these are kids, man. Like, I get it. It can be considered child pornography, but they're kids. They don't really understand.
No.
Even though they're in high school, they don't really understand the implications and consequences of this.
But see, the thing too is, like, they don't understand the consequences or the implications, but are you going to damn them
Right.
for the entirety of their lives
For being kids.
For being kids, and this is the way that technology has gone.
Yeah.
That's not something that they can control, just like the character in the movie.
Yes.
Like when this guy did this blog, it's like he essentially took her voice.
Yeah.
It's like she had no voice. It's like now anything that he said was attributed to her. And so it's like she had absolutely no control over what this man was saying about her or what this man was saying to other people about her.
Yeah.
And so it's like this helplessness that like, and she, like you said, it's like this is 1988. 1998. There's no recourse.
No recourse.
She has nowhere to go. There's no special unit. There's no.
I can't call the police to
Yeah.
be like, take down this blog.
Yeah. This is before SVU. Like,
This is before any
Like
of
this
that.
is like a shadow world inside of a shadow world where like, yeah, how do you pull the plug on something where, you know, like nobody understood routers or like,
Right.
you know, they didn't have
IP
special units.
addresses. Or,
Yeah, they didn't have special units designed to like go into these things. Yeah.
Yeah.
They were still barely able to. Because I watched The Wire all the time. You know, The Wire was made like early 2000s. So it's like they had like a big thing about when the burner phones came out and how they were able to catch people. Because it's like, you know, before you get on the phone, you keep them talking for 30 seconds, whatever, we could tap it. But it's like with the burner phone and they just throw it away, how do we get them? So it's like when you have to take yourself back into that time. So it's just like they weren't able to catch people on the phones. It's even more difficult to find them on the internet. And it's like you said, this dude is like her voice. But not only that, it's causing her to doubt herself. It's like, am I really thinking this? Is this who I really want to be?
That's the tragic aspect. Yeah.
I've read, there's this author, Riley Sager. He bases all of his books either in the mid to late 80s, early 90s. So there's no technology. There are situations where these characters get into, they have no recourse. There's no cell phones, there's no GPS data, there's no like, you know, there's no tracking on the cars, there's literally nothing. And so it's like they get into situations where it's like they can't easily be solved by like where now like the technology's there and they can do so much with it. It's just not there.
It's not there. It was a lot more difficult to figure stuff out back then.
Yeah.
You had to have more cunning and, you know, more survival skills. It's
Or
not just-
doggedness on the part of the investigators.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So like this movie is like you said, like it's so ahead of its time. You can show this to like a teenager now and they might like complain about the graphics or whatever, but it's like, what is this saying? You need to understand
the message is very
what this
apparent.
is saying because this is
you
your
put out there,
world.
yeah.
This is your world.
Yeah.
Like that started with a blog. The blog might not be the thing now, but people create fake social media accounts all the time. And now I can get the verified check even if it's fake.
To torment and harass people.
Yeah. And then how the film shapes itself and towards the climax and conclusion. It's I can't spoil it because Edwin still has to watch it. But it's one of those things where.
Hey man, I watched Paranoia Agent for you.
You guys are into the Satoshi
Twice.
Kon world. So.
I watched that show twice for you so that I could understand. I actually did more research on that show than I have done on any of the shows that in preparation for our discussion on that show.
Because each episode's his own movie. It is.
Well, yeah, I mean, because it is so much of it's so film-like. Anime is already weird as it is. There are moments where I'm like watching stuff and I'm like, this is pretty strange or out there. Paranoia Agent takes that to a whole other level. But if you understand the historical context, not only like a Perfect Blue and his other films, but just with this film, I had to do a large amount of research just to understand the opening sequence. Yeah. Like why are these people laughing? Why is there like a mushroom cloud? And after I did the research, I was like, oh, I get it. I understand what he's saying. I understand what's going on, but these are challenging.
Yeah. And you mentioned a key word, Jamaal, earlier with absurd. Like, what was like the absurd feeling you got, or what you saw made you feel like this is absurd?
The whole thing.
The whole thing. Okay. No. There's instances for me. Yeah.
He uses it's an art movement called absurdism.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I'm aware of that.
Yeah.
And that's why I'm like, this whole thing is just absurd. And it's terrifyingly real in its absurdity. And you kind of need that absurdity to kind of balance things out. Like some of the character designs are like, that's kind of weird. That's kind of out there. Why does he look like a horse? But then it's like you kind of need that too. In like one of the villains in the show, he kind of embodies like what people think of trolls now. Like you see the guy that's at home on his computer just typing away, and it's just like that's what people envision when they see a Twitter troll.
It's almost carnal. Yeah,
So
yeah.
it's a phenomenal film. Again, I know it's sometimes difficult for people to go back to those previous times because the artwork is so dated and different.
Yeah.
But if you can get past that, this is a wonderful film.
Well, it's like with Nausicaa. I mean, Nausicaa,
Yes.
the artwork is very dated, and I've shown people the film, and they kind of comment on that. But I think it's even more relevant today.
And it's more impressive today, in my humble opinion.
Yeah. I think it speaks to like environmentalism and what we're doing to the planet and how we can't get out of our own way.
That whole scene with the glider and the monster, like, it's still peak action to me.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, and then it's so well done. The action sequences in that movie are so well done.
Yeah.
But it's one of those, like Jamaal said, one of those older films that I think that the themes and the characters still speak volumes today.
Absolutely.
Especially because I think they saw what was coming.
Yep.
And spoke to it in a way that was both profound and entertaining and awe-inspiring. And yeah, like Perfect Blue and Nausicaa, these are films where like they might seem dated, but I think that they are definitely for this age.
Yeah, and especially if you're coming in for the anime. And like I said with Satoshi Kon, first thing I saw was Paranoia Agent, but that was like a tree. Like, here I go. I'm in this universe now.
It was insane.
Yeah.
Jack doesn't pick easy shows.
No.
Jack picks a lot of heavy stuff, man.
Yeah.
To the most simple.
Yeah.
Again, like you said this again when we did our show with Kyle, because he said he watched Oshinoko, and I think you recommending Perfect Blue in conjunction with that show is good.
Yeah.
Perfect Blue can be a little intense for a teenager, but they see a lot of stuff now.
Yeah.
But
So,
they'll be amazed.
Far more.
Yeah.
But if you're a late teens person that likes Oshinoko, you definitely should watch Perfect Blue. Not only because it's a seamless transition, Oshinoko takes a lighter taste to it, and it's kind of like inverted
Yeah.
in that like
A deconstruction of it. Really.
Aqua Blue or whatever his name is,
yeah.
Aquamarine, is like trying to get the people into the industry. Like Perfect Blue is going the other way, and it's showing you like the really dirty, gritty underbelly of that entertainment idol culture. And that's just in Japan, but it applies here too.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
It absolutely applies here
Well, I was
too.
thinking of the studio system back in the the early 40s and 50s, where like they didn't have laws for these kids.
Right.
They made contracts with them and then used drugs and like alcohol
Yeah.
to keep them like under their thumbs for
Yeah.
like who knows what they paid them, and who knows how many of them either committed suicide or died from drug overdoses.
Judy
and,
Gardner.
like,
Not Judy Gardner.
Julie Garland, yeah.
Garland.
Yeah, like she's the perfect example.
Yeah.
It's like what they did to these kids and these actors, before people started to take notice and say, hey, like, you shouldn't be doing this. Yeah.
It's terrifying.
Yeah.
But the great recommendation, Jack.
Oh, well, thank you.
Again, if you watch Perfect Blue, there will be trigger warnings in there. Trigger warning, because there is a fairly graphic rape scene.
Well, a lot of 1980s anime films were pretty graphic.
Yeah.
They were ones where it's like you had to be careful how old you
Yeah.
were when you watched these.
Yeah.
And that's how anime has had a bad rep. in a
Luckily,
sense.
luckily, I don't, because back then it's whatever we could get translated and over into the States. And yeah, it was a lot of them were pretty graphic. I mean, unless you stayed with just the Miyazaki films, especially in the like early mid to late 80s, yeah, a lot of that was graphic.
Oh yeah.
Very much so. So please, if you do watch it, it's a mature film and it is psychologically terrifying. Like I remember Edwin, you talking about Jessica Jones when it first came out.
Good
And it
example.
kind of has it has that psychological, emotional,
Mr. Purple.
yeah, terror to it.
Like that. Oh, I know that feeling. Ooh.
What is it called now?
Well, trauma.
I'm trying to remember all my newer terms. Not brainwashing. What do they call it?
Oh, not
Gaslighting.
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 Yeah, it's a classic example. Gaslighting.
Trigger warnings for gaslighting. Trigger warnings for rape. Trigger warnings for psychological, emotional terror.
Trauma. Yeah.
So yeah, I want to put those out there because I know you need to put trigger warnings out on stuff now.
No shame.
I'm getting older, but I'm learning.
Yeah, and now with kids along the way, it's trust me. Like my nephew right off the bat, even like Jujutsu Kaisen, I'm like, ooh, okay, not yet, buddy, not yet.
No, yeah. Jujutsu Kaisen's not, even from the horror element, it's not something I would recommend to a younger audience.
At least for introductory, yeah.
I read that the author of Jujutsu Kaisen said they should be wrapping up the manga this year. So we're going to have to put out a warning for Kyle because I know once that manga is done, he's going to be depressed.
All good things must come to an end.
Yeah, I'll be sad when Dangers in My Heart ends.
Yeah.
That one's healthy. That one might even go to Kaguya-sama levels, 30 volumes. I can see that.
I don't know. We'll see.
We'll see.
Yeah.
I'm ready for
Let's just go to the winter catch-ups. But honestly, I don't think this season...
It's a weird season.
It is a weird
I think
season.
there's going to be a lot of crossover for this season for us.
Well, we have such strong, there's such strong shows that we're continuing from last year that, like, going into this year, it's like anything else is kind of like, will you manage to catch our attention?
Yeah.
I felt like with Apothecary Diaries, with Freenan, with Shangri-La Frontier,
Yeah.
those were like the top 3 carryovers from the previous season. And it's like, how do you compete with such big, strong shows? While Apothecary Diaries and Freenan might be quiet shows, they're still really strong shows. And so how do you compete with that? Some shows caught my attention, some didn't. I mean, like we all talked about Sasaki and Peeps.
Yeah.
Yes.
And with Sasaki and Peeps, I think it was just so original and off the wall that it was bound to, and charming.
Yes.
It was bound to catch our attention.
Yeah. Well, we'll start with that one then. Like the basic rundown on that one. Edwin.
Okay, Sasaki and Peeps starts with Sasaki, who is a salaryman, an older salaryman, who is kind of like not dissatisfied with his position in life.
He's grown into it.
He's accepted it. I think.
Yeah.
He's accepted it, but he wants something a little bit more.
Slightly dissatisfied, but he's cool with it.
Yeah, he's like, I'm at my point in my life where he's like, I'm okay. He's got his apartment, and like really all he wants is an overload of cuteness, which for him would be a puppy or a kitten.
Yes.
And so one day he wanders into a pet store and he sees this cute little bird, and he's like, I have to get this. He's like, I have to get the bird. And he gets the bird, and it opens him up to this world of insanity that like I was not prepared for. And it's reminiscent of Eminence in Shadow, where like anything that can happen will happen. But it's so structured, and Sasaki makes it so believable that essentially it takes all of these anime tropes and puts them together in a way that actually works really well.
Yeah, it does.
Because Peeps turns out to be a reincarnated. Peeps has been isekai'd
Yes.
into our world, and he was a star sage in his world. And now he is essentially just trapped in the body of this bird. And him and Sasaki join forces to essentially travel to another world. But then that's when everything, where you think this is going to be just like, oh, your standard isekai.
Only one isekai moment.
No.
Only
it's
one.
Like,
No.
They start to throw every single thing that they can at you. And at first I'm like, this is going to be insane.
Wait. But let's say this. The reason why Peeps is is bringing him back into his world is because he wants food.
Yes. Yes.
He wants food. What was the meal that he wanted? Was it Wagyu?
Yeah,
He
Wagyu.
wants steak.
He wanted a Wagyu.
wants
He
steak.
wanted a
Yeah.
steak.
And similar to this isekai, Campfire Cooking in Another World, like Thel has a preference for food. And has an
It's
appetite.
very similar.
That's
It's
where you
very
start
similar.
to get all of your like recent isekai anime tropes
Yeah.
pulled into this show, and it just works. It works really well. I would never say that Sasaki and Peeps is like phenomenal. Like, it's hard to explain. This is very much a comfort anime, but
Yeah.
it does it. It takes all of these tropes and just runs with them.
And weirdly desensitizes you with all the isekai routes. It desensitizes you with like everything
It
else.
uses all of the routes.
That's what I mean.
There's not a route that's left unused.
I know,
But
in this
it's,
show,
it's done well.
Yeah,
it's done so well.
It's done well, and you're intrigued by the different route. Like the political intrigue. It's like to where you were saying, whereas like in Campfire Cooking, where he like, I want to do anything I possibly can to stay away from this.
Yeah.
Like,
Sasaki gets pulled in.
Sasaki's like, I don't want to be involved in this either.
Yeah.
But he ends up forming a bond
with people.
people, and he's like,
He becomes invested
all right, I'm invested.
in this world.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the fate of the people that he's,
And
come to know.
Well, originally, why he goes to that other world is to make business.
Well, see, the thing is, it's like, after watching Sasaki and Peeps, other shows just seem lazy.
Yeah.
Yeah,
like-
you know what?
it's like-
That's a very accurate assumption. Yeah,
You know?
I agree.
Other shows just seem lazy. It's like, why aren't you using your time, why are you using your time effectively the way
Yeah.
Sasaki and Peeps does? This episode could have been all about magical girls, but you chose not to, Or this could have been like an entire war in one episode because Peeps is so OP that he wiped out the entire force. Why couldn't you do that
Which
in your
was
episode?
awesome.
That was awesome.
That was awesome.
That was awesome. The fight scenes. I loved that one episode where they go to recruit that high school kid,
Yeah.
and then you have a scene that's right out of a teen romantic comedy,
Yeah.
where the little and we haven't even talked about the telekinetic special secret private agency that works for the government.
That
is just like
That's when I get desensitized. Like even that crazy crap.
espers,
I'm
yeah.
like, they're cool, they're
Yeah.
fun. It's Chainsaw Man, it's Jujutsu Kaisen at this point. Okay,
Yeah.
whatever.
But it does it in such a like.
Innocent way.
Innocent.
Yeah.
That's a good word for it. I was gonna use like not mundane, but like everyday kind of like.
Yeah.
This show never gets bombastic.
Yeah,
No.
and how it ironically translates to Japanese current bureaucracy. Like, oh, okay, I guess I'll sign up here.
Yeah.
It's like
Well, Sasaki is so well.
He's such a
so
politician.
mild-mannered. Yes.
he is such a politician.
Yes, he really is.
He's such a politician.
He is.
He has every advantage in the book.
Well, he's. I wouldn't call him a coward,
No.
but he's
not
like
a coward.
He's not a coward because he will dive into these situations, but he's gonna negotiate. He's
Oh, yeah.
like, I'd rather negotiate
Oh, yeah.
than fight. It's like I have these spells, but I want to survive this. It's like I don't want to go into battle with this right now.
Yeah.
And he does that throughout the entirety of the show, and he's building his own little harem, in a sense. But he's not going to take advantage of that in any way, shape, or form. And that's what makes this show so easy to watch. There's absolutely no cringe. And it's like...
Yeah, I agree.
And it's also the most surprising show where I'm surprised it's not ranked in the top 5.
I'm kind of surprised, too, because it's like...
Yeah.
It doesn't have those moments where it pushes it over into, like, I don't think that the show wants to push itself into like a Jujutsu Kaisen
Or Undead Unlock.
or Man or Chainsaw Man. It doesn't want to push itself into that territory. It's got its own lane. It stays there, and it handles it really well.
It plays out like it wants to be a slice of life.
Yeah,
But
It tries its hardest.
But it's trying to be a slice of life,
trying
but
to
it's
be
forced.
everything.
But it's forced to be these different things.
it's not forced to be anything. It chooses to be everything. It literally chooses to be everything, but it handles it so well that it's really entertaining.
Yeah, and it starts with
guess
the main
so.
character. It just starts with
just
his,
Sasaki.
Sasaki, yeah.
just wants to do his business, go over here, sleep in that bed because it's better.
Yep.
Come back, go to work, and that's it.
He keeps it very grounded.
He wants to be grounded. He wants it to be a slice of life.
Yep.
But then life happens outside of his control, and he's forced to negotiate over here, negotiate over here. Oh my goodness, this lady is now in my face. She knows the secret.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
Yep.
Now the daughter's hiding in my suitcase.
Yep.
He's just
Always
forced.
something. Yep.
He's just
Forced
forced
to deal
into
with,
these
yep.
situations
Yep.
where he's just like, I just want to be chill. The little next door neighbor girl, like it's just like
That's definitely slice of life.
he's just trying to stay just chill and mundane, but these situations there's
They
always
get
something
out of control.
that gets out. There's always something that gets out of control.
Yeah. It gets out of control.
Always something that gets out of control, and it's not his fault.
No.
It's not his
No,
fault.
he just gets sucked into these situations and he handles them so well.
Yeah.
But I absolutely love the fact that they're throwing every trope that they can.
The number one being he makes his own restaurant in another world. I mean, come
Which
on.
that would have been a show unto
on its own
itself.
self. Yeah, I agree.
Starting a business in another world would have been a show unto itself.
That's
Negotiating with the war.
That's the
Yeah.
$80,000 gold thing.
How to like fund a war and how to prevent a war.
Yes, all of those. This show has enough material in it for like a dozen different isekai.
Yeah.
Or Esper or like Magical Girl. Like if you just split all this out, it would be like
One
God.
show. One
Yeah, and
single
all
show.
packed into one show. And Sasaki is like the linchpin. Him and his, like Jamaal said, his demeanor keep the show balanced.
And ironically, Pichon being the ultimate sidekick, even though it's all powerful.
Well, he's kind of like the Yoda. He's like you said, the Robin and the Yoda at the same time.
Yeah.
Like he's there to support him, but need be, he's there to support him, teach him, and in need be, drop the hammer down when necessary.
And watch his movies.
And watch his movies.
and eat their food together.
And eat the food.
Watch his movies. Yeah. He loves his Westerns.
Yep. I love the backpack.
Yeah.
The little bird backpack.
And you guys caught up with all the episodes. I'm like up to like
I'm
seven
caught
or seven.
I'm all caught up.
I'm all caught up too.
I'm all caught up with everything that didn't drop last night.
All right, cool.
Yeah, I watched last night's episode.
I missed. I'll catch it when I get back.
Yeah, I'm always like, when there's a normal episode, I'm like, wait, this is too normal. There's
Yeah,
not enough going on.
I think that happened to me around fourth or fifth, and I'm like, okay, I'll take a little break.
Well, they have episodes where it's like, some of the episodes are over. There's so much going on that when you get an episode where it's like, it's a normal, like, we have to play out the scenario, guys. We can't just keep adding new material. We have to actually deal with like what we've set up.
Yeah.
You're like kind of like, oh, okay. You mean you're not gonna like introduce aliens or astronauts?
dimension.
Yeah.
The third isekai, like
Where's the Demon Lord?
Where's like Rising Shield Hero? Another world to the isekai into.
Yeah. Where's the Demon Lord? Why isn't there a Demon Lord? You know, it's like Edwin, calm down.
Yeah.
Yep.
So that was one. Healing magic.
Healing magic. All right.
The wrong way to use healing magic. That's a good one. I'm kind of surprised by how much I like this show. When I watched the first episode, I was like, oh, these characters, there was nothing that like spoke to me where like they were going to be original. I thought, and I liked that the fact that each character has kind of gotten their own
thing. Their own thing.
Well, their own thing, but their own kind of like little arcs within the episodes.
Yeah.
Where it kind of shows them off, not just Usato and Rose, but that like a lot of these other characters, the two other heroes, have gotten to like their moments, like the hero and the princess.
Yeah.
Like they had their own little moments.
Yeah, they did.
Yeah.
That was nice to play out.
Yeah, the girl, she had her own moments with Usato. And like she definitely has like, she's not a one note character. She actually has like
Well, the backtrack. This is a interesting isekai. Like it's straight to the nose, one of the most regular ones, quote unquote, to the bill. However, the twist. I like how they got isekai into a world. The main character, Usato, essentially got there by accident.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, he got pulled in by accident. Yeah. And
they
it
were
ends up
walking
being his
home
show.
from school. Something happened at school. The umbrella, was it?
Yeah.
And he didn't have an umbrella. They had umbrellas, so they were walking with him. And
like they're the upper crust. They're like
they're the was it student council president? Yeah.
And I thought that was how this show was going to play out.
Yeah.
Kind of like him trying to be like a background character. Or...
Well, no, like it was going to be about him. I thought they were going to be the background characters. But they actually spent time fleshing them out.
There you go. Okay.
And like that's, I think, one of the things that makes this show different than a lot of other isekais is like they spend that time. You get the overpower, you get the crazy training arcs and stuff like that are hilarious. And this show's a lot funnier than I thought it was going to be.
Well, starting with that training, the first day kind of thing, because after he's summoned, they do these gauges, how they read these characters' power, and they see Osato's power, and it's kind of baffling for them. Like, ooh, okay, ooh.
Yeah, but then they're like...
They're trying to keep hush-hush.
They're baffled because he wasn't even supposed to be there.
And then sure enough, this one character comes out of nowhere.
Well, everybody feels bad for him.
Yeah.
And they're scared for him, and they're like, don't say anything. You know, like they don't get a chance to tell him, dude, just shut up. Don't say anything. We'll hide you. It's going to be all right. Yeah. And then Rose shows up and everybody's like, oh, fuck.
Yeah, that was my favorite, the funniest moment.
He's in trouble.
Yeah.
Yep.
Because the king's reaction was priceless. Like, oh, no.
Yep.
Everybody.
Because Rose is one tough SOB.
She's nuts.
Mind you, she's head of this healing group.
Yeah.
And Osato is perfect for healing. However, what you think with healing, a pacifist on the side just using their powers. No, she treats him like a grade A warrior.
Yeah. Almost like a paladin.
Yeah.
Yeah. With their outfits and they're like, the only thing they don't have weapons for what I thought was just going to be a standard isekai. It's pretty well fleshed out.
It's fun.
Yeah. It's a fun show. Yeah.
It's different. It separates itself in the genre.
Yeah,
which is kind of like blowing up. So you need things that's going to kind of make you stand out, and it does that.
Yeah, and compared to Sasuke, like, of course, we love and adore, like, what they're doing with Sasuke. This one is, like, taking a breather. Let's try something a little bit different within the genre.
Yeah, it's like you said, this is one of the more traditional isekais.
Focusing on the healing aspect of it, I think, is where it varies from like other. It's a very shonen-esque rise for the character.
And we know Edwin hates shonen.
Whatever, man. Look, I spotted jujitsu. I said it before you guys. I'm like, this is gonna be huge. I spotted Chainsaw Man. I'm like, this is gonna be huge. They're both like the ultimate examples of shonen. Without all of the trappings of like
into the own world as shonens,
yeah.
This is an isekai shonen, and it bounces off great with Great Cleric and Faraway Paladin.
Yeah, It doesn't have the depth or the heart of Faraway Paladin. And what was the other show?
Great Cleric.
Yeah, Great Cleric. It's a little bit more sophisticated than Great Cleric.
Yeah.
That was kind of a one-note thing. This one's the characters. There's way more character development in this.
Yeah,
I really appreciate that. This most recent, I don't know if you guys haven't watched this yet.
The first part of Rose, I didn't see the second.
I watched the entirety of it, and it was a bit of a gut punch, but like it was something that you needed to understand Rose.
I saw that.
It was something where you needed to understand Rose's character.
Yes, absolutely.
And for a show that, like, it was kind of surprising. It could have been a little bit slower. That's my problem with this show sometimes. Sometimes it's, like, a little too crazy.
Yeah, and for me, it's like they kind of repeat the same motions early on. I'm like, okay.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, I agree. There were a couple of times where I'm like, did I watch this episode already?
Where he goes back in the forest. And it's
and I'm like, oh, okay.
And you're just, it's like you're going through this again so that they can have these moments.
Yeah,
and I think that was to show how much stronger he had gotten.
Yeah.
And, like, I think they've done a perfect job getting to the point where they need to be to face this final arc of, like, this demon war.
Yeah.
And so you're going to see the shit hit the fan, and I'm ready for it. Like, it's been a very satisfying watch for what I thought was just going to be like your basic standard isekai that I'm like, I don't know if I'm going to like this, but I ended up liking it a lot more. And Rose has like become like this character where you're like, you feel for her.
Yeah.
Especially after these last two episodes.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, they always kind of hinted at her background, but they never really got into it.
Fleshed it out. Yeah.
So once it came out, it separated her from that typical like angry woman that's overpowering and strong.
Which is that kind of character.
Yeah.
Because a lot of those characters will have that background, but this one was a lot more well done.
I agree.
Yeah.
And it gave her heart.
Yes.
It gave her a heart.
Which you always suspected was there.
Yeah.
But it never came through. And we've seen this with other shows. We've seen this especially with Jujutsu Kaisen, where you get to that moment where, like, either before the battle, during the battle, or after the battle, you have that flashback that underscores why it is that this character is fighting, what their motivation is. And then you really get that for Rose here. And you just see that this is how much she cares.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And how she doesn't want to go through that again.
No.
Like, and so it's like, all right, I need to train these people up so that this won't happen again. They have to be ready.
Yep.
They have to be ready. And she knows she can't do it on her own. Because she tried to do it on her own last time. It's just like, yeah, I got it, man. You handle them. I'll handle all that.
Her ego took the best.
But she wasn't ready for.
Yeah.
She wasn't ready for the depths. For the places that they would go,
Yeah.
the things that they would do. Now she's ready.
Yep.
She's ready.
Now she's ready.
She steeled herself, and she's prepared.
Yeah.
And she's like, all right. And when she identified who Usato was,
she
was like,
forged the sword.
Okay, I got backup.
Yeah.
This one right here, I could depend on this one.
Yeah.
Even if everybody else goes, I know it's going to be me and him.
They're two swords that have been forged for the battle.
Yeah.
Yeah, which is saying a lot for, like I said, what I thought was just going to be a standard isekai.
Yeah.
And I thought it was very important where she had him reading about the history.
Oh, yeah.
She's like, no, you need to read this.
That's my favorite, one of my favorite parts.
Yeah, because she, and again, that was another little hint, like, all right, she went through something. Because she's like, I have to remember this. You need to understand why this is so important. And why I'm training you this way.
Like, with that instance, I'm like, I have to look up who this voice actress is. Something about it is just, I'm loving Rose more and more. It's the same voice actress as Motoko from Ghost in the Shell.
Which was surprising to find out,
Yeah, so it's like, there's something about Rose that continues on. You listen to her lessons, so.
Yeah.
We all like Rose.
Yeah.
Yeah, this was a surprise one.
Alrighty, we'll be the next one, guys.
What was the other
You
one?
want to continue with the stuff that we finished? Well, all right, let's just.
The continuing ones,
let's
or
do the continuing ones.
Was there anything else that, like.
The only other one that has.
That
like,
all three of us have,
is,
like.
All right, so we'll say that. So Solo Leveling is a big show this season, and we'll touch on that slightly, but we have an episode planned where we're going to dive deep into Solo Leveling. So we know it's a big show. It's a show that we've been looking forward to for a long time.
Yeah, I'm surprised it was going to be 12 episodes coming up. I thought it was going to be like 24.
No, that's because we've been spoiled.
Yeah,
fair.
we have been spoiled, and it's going to be hard
spoiled.
to like not like.
Yeah,
they've covered a lot of what I've read so far, so I'm like, oh man, come on.
And the first 3 volumes are sold out like crazy. So.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
So like Alberto like got into the show and he's like he wants to read the manga, and I'm like, dude, you might as well just read the light novels because like they've already gone through like the first 2 volumes of the manga already.
Yeah.
So I'm like, those are like $20 a pop, $40 for stuff that you've already like. Just read the light novels. You'll get more out of it.
Or buy them used.
Or buy them used.
You can buy them used and goes to half price books. I'm sure there's a lot of people who are selling that now. And
there's not a lot because they're buying all the first few volumes.
Yeah. It's
they're
tricky.
buying all of them.
It's crazy because it's been out for a while too.
Yeah,
but
almost
now
5
the show,
years.
But now the show is out. So
the show's
now
doing really
they're
well.
buying.
I disagree.
If it's out at Mitsuwa, I just assume it's out everywhere.
Yeah.
Well, if Mitsuo ain't got it, I'm sure it's not getting it.
Well,
I got to compete with compete with them on Ingram for that.
Yeah, and this is the director he did God of High School and Jujutsu Kaisen, like head of this project, so the animation's through the roof.
Yeah. The show looks amazing.
Yeah.
It is an amazing show. This is one that was heavily anticipated for a lot of people.
Oh yeah, I was looking forward to this.
And you guys read the manga before the show?
I read the light novel.
Or like you specifically light novel?
Kyle forced me to read the light novel.
I read the first 3 volumes of the manga and really enjoyed it. Yeah.
I read the light
I
novel.
fell behind because they are pretty pricey.
They're very pricey. They look good.
Yeah, the artwork's amazing.
Yeah. They're very pricey.
Yeah.
So for the you can get the light novel.
It's big. It's It's a bigger size.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah,
And the
it's-
paper is better.
It's a bit better quality paper. It's a larger size than most standard manga, and it's in color.
Yeah.
So, like, you're getting your money's worth on those because they are. Most manga contains a graphic novel sized worth of content.
Yeah.
Sometimes even more. And so that's why I feel like for Solo Leveling, the price is kind of justified, especially since it's a larger format than most manga.
Yeah.
And because it's in color.
Wow.
So you're kind of getting your money's worth, but it's definitely not cheap.
It's not cheap, and if you want to get ahead, man, it's like we said that the season's almost over and they've already burned through most of the first 2 volumes.
Yeah.
If you want to get ahead, it's going to be very pricey because they're going through it pretty quickly. But it's a very good show, and again, that one along with what is it, Sign of Affection?
Or yeah.
Is that the
You
other
enjoyed
one we're
Jet
doing?
Jack?
I like it so far. I was
Have you guys both watched that? I
Yes.
haven't watched that one yet.
okay.
watched
Okay.
it.
If
Well,
you guys want to talk about it, that's fine.
just a little.
We're going to dip our toe into it
I'll
because
mention,
that's going to be another one. We're doing Sign of Affection and Solo Leveling in conjunction.
yeah.
Well, I'd like to mention, like, they're doing the second season of Bottom-Tier Character Tomozaki.
I like that progression.
I'm liking that a lot.
I watched that one. Did we all watch that?
I haven't caught up. I've only saw half of the first season.
Okay, yeah, I'm caught up.
Yeah,
That's a surprise catch up.
Oh, I guess so. It was coming out for season 2, so I was like, all right, let me hurry up and watch this.
So if you watch season 1,
Yeah.
you're catching up with season
I'm all
2.
caught up.
How do you like it?
Season 1 was stronger.
Yeah.
Season 1 was stronger.
Yeah, absolutely.
This one, it's not bad. I think the first few episodes of this season, it was trying to find its footing when it was transitioning the story, and I think they kind of got back on track.
I've read about 8 volumes because this is not a manga. It's a light novel that was turned into an anime. I think that the manga is out in Japan.
Okay.
It hasn't been released here in the States.
And the light novels are concluded, right?
Huh?
The light now, like the series is done.
I'm not sure.
Okay.
I know volume 9 is out. I kind of like, see, for me, this is essentially kind of the video game slice of life version of,
Heart Mia.
no, what's that movie? My Fair Lady.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Good reference. Good
Yeah.
reference. Okay.
So I felt that was a stronger focus in the first season
Okay.
than in the
Yeah.
second
Fair,
season.
very fair.
And as the light novels progress, they kind of like get out into like, and then I heard this complaint online where like it's slower paced, and these were
Yes.
yeah,
Yes.
these were creative.
First season. Yeah.
Yeah, these were creative choices that were made like by the writer. So I can't really blame the anime crew
right.
because it's like, yeah, there were like, it was kind of strong for the first 5 volumes of the light novel. Then like 6, 7, where he gets into like more of the gaming world and you introduce more rivals for his attention, more like older girls who are trying to like get his attention as he becomes more popular and more able to like be quote unquote normie, the way they call it in the show. And he gets into situations where you're like, dude, what are you doing? You know, like this is not going to play out well. But there's a lot of, I especially like with Minami, the arc that's coming up, the school festival arc, and it's a really bittersweet one.
Yeah.
And what the choices that he makes along the way are kind of like a little bit harder to accept. But I do agree with you that toward the beginning, that whole classroom like queen bee kind of thing.
It didn't. I got what they were trying to do.
So did I,
just
but
didn't.
no. I didn't really enjoy that in the light novel as much either. I liked when they moved on to the cultural festival and the play and like his comedy routine with Minami. We're going to be seeing coming up, and I'm really more excited for those. But like, I can't remember her name.
Aoi.
Aoi. Aoi. The fact that Aoi takes more and more of a back seat this season, I didn't like that aspect
Aoi's
because
my
I
favorite.
felt
I agree.
because I felt that was like his little his education. I felt was like the strength of the show,
Right.
And as they get further, as he becomes more independent from that, it's kind of hard to see the direction of the show. Yeah. So I thought that was a weakness, but at the same time, I do like the character interactions a lot. They're really funny. Like when him and his friend go to the all-girl school.
Yeah.
And
Mitsuzawa.
Mitsuzawa. When they go to the all-girl school and he's like, I don't know what I'm doing. Just his awkwardness and like how they tell him like, look, dude, stop with the depreciating yourself because like, we care about you. And so after a while, it just kind of like rubs us the wrong way because we don't see you that way. So I thought that was one of the cool things that played out this season for them. But the first season was definitely stronger.
What else do you like, Jamaal, overall? With
I'll
the show?
say what I like and what. So in season 1, where him and Aoi kind of have this difference of opinion, and he's kind of like, he like sees through the mask that she has on. And he's like, I'm going to bring you out. We really don't see that.
Yeah.
We really don't see that at all. And so like the beginning of the second season, they kind of play like that's what they're hinting at. So I was kind of looking for that, and I never really got it.
Well, she kind of goes underground.
She goes underground until they had the Mean Girl episode where she like breaks out and he sees her again, and it's like, whoa, where did that come from? And it's like, yeah, that's what this was supposed to be about, but you didn't give this.
Well, because I think that's a long-term, like...
It's a long-term thing, but you can't end with that and then just drop it.
Yeah.
You have to continually, if you're going to tell a long-term story, you don't have to tell it. You can't drop it and then pick it up later on down the line where it left off. No, you have to take chunks and do a little of this, little here, little here. That's what makes it a long-term story.
I agree.
So,
that was, you get a little bit of that toward the end of like the Queen Bee story.
Yes.
And I felt like that was kind of like he got sidetracked from his mission of figuring her out. But in the light novels, it's like you can tell that this is not like, this is somebody that he knows, and that like she won't give up the ghost.
Right.
She's holding on to this. And so it's like, he's not at the place where he has the skill level to like draw her out and actually figure out like who she is behind all these layers of all these masks. It's like, who is the real Aoi? And I think that that's really like the end of the show. Like when he finally figures out who she is and what happened to her and some of these things that, like, she's an enigma.
Yeah.
She's an absolute enigma.
Yeah.
And so I think that's over the course of the light novels, that's like the end goal. And so I think that's why they kind of like switched you over onto a different track. And I'm not saying that it was like a successful thing, and I'm not saying that it was, because I had my trouble. What you're saying. Yeah, I had my trouble with that in the light novel as well. It's like, when are we going to get to the meat of this and like who she is? But like, because the story, like with Kamui, because the story is so stretched out and like things are happening and like life is getting in the way, this is the way it plays out. And I think a lot of people, like you said, it's that loss of focus that kind of like, people are like, wait, what's happening?
That's my initial problem. It's the pacing and the dialogue. Sometimes that carries over. It's different. It's way different than Horror Mia. It's a positive for me for that. It's just a matter of, piecing these together and what these characters' intentions are.
It's kind of like playing a dating sim.
Yeah, good comparison.
But honestly, I don't want him to break Aoi. I think it's more interesting for Mizusawa to do it.
Okay.
I can get that.
Yeah.
I
don't think Mizusawa is in a place where he can.
I think Mizusawa has the skills to, because Mizusawa, he saw it right from the beginning. He was like, you're hiding something. Yeah. And I know it because I'm always hiding something.
Well, it's like you said, it's like you don't trust people who are nice all the time.
Yeah.
You want to understand what their objective is.
Yeah.
And like, this girl has essentially just like burned everything off to succeed. Yeah. Like, she will be the ultimate person in the game and in life.
Yeah, she's created this character, and she can't she's living the gimmick. Mm-hmm. Like they say like about Ric Flair. They say this about like wrestlers or actors sometimes too. Like
kayfabe.
Sometimes they embody the character that they play.
Yeah. And
that's what she's done. And so like, Tomozaki and Mizusawa, they both see it.
Yeah.
But Tomozaki's like, I'm going to show you how to live this life.
Yeah.
And it's like, but you don't really do it. And then there's also times in the show where he just doesn't seem to grow. Like, he accomplishes his mission, but he doesn't add that to his gaming his skill tree.
Yeah.
You know what
because I mean? And I think it goes back to what they were saying. It's like his bottom-tier character mentality.
Yeah, exactly.
That he can't let go of.
I get that. And that was the importance of that discussion that he had with Mizusawa.
Mm-hmm.
But, that's a frustration of mine too, because it's like, all right, you play the game, you obtain this skill, and you're not using it.
Yeah.
So what's the point of it? And then this show kind of makes you want to ship everybody.
Yeah.
Like, and I'm not a shipper.
Yeah. But it's real easy with this show.
Or you just pick favorites, and favorites for me, so owie.
I just don't like, because like this show you kind of have to, because that not only is that like one of his like goals that he has to accomplish, they just kind of really force that upon you, and that's not a type of person I am. But I love having relationship discussions.
Oh yeah.
Ooh, I love it.
Yeah.
It's so
that's a good call. It is Jamal show more. I think about it.
So no, it's not a Jamal.
When
They also have Smash Brothers. They also have Smash
when
Brothers.
they put him and Minimi on the spot, that was a really like delicious. That was a delicious moment. The awkwardness. It's like they're like, wait, what's going on?
Okay, so here, all right,
or more like a Jamal respect.
Let's get into this discussion.
See, we got Jamal. Like,
let's get into this discussion.
We got Jamal interested.
So, I know at the end of the day, he's going to end up with what's the playgirl's name?
Oh, Kukichi.
Yeah. Kukichi. Fuka Kukichi.
I can't remember in the first
Kukichi.
season.
He's going to end up with Kukichi because they're like the same speed, but he really should be with Mimi.
I agree.
He really should be with Mimi.
I agree.
Because Mimi is just first of all, like, it's tragic for her because she's constantly coming in second. And it's like
everything, yeah.
You're coming in second with Tomozaki too.
Yeah.
That's gonna crush a high school girl.
Yeah.
Because like,
what's left?
I saw like an Instagram video the other day, and this lady was talking, and they were talking about like how women like to date like medium ugly guys because they're like safe and everything. So then the dude was like, well, what if the medium ugly guy like cheats on you? And they're like, that's crushing. And then I could apply that to me because like, I did all this to make you feel comfortable, to build you up, to become friends with you, and all this, and I confess myself to you, and you still don't choose me. I'm still coming in second.
Yeah.
It's heartbreaking for her. But the reason why she's better for him is because she has skills and she has this connection to the world where he can grow.
Yeah.
If he's with Kukichi, they're on the same level.
Yeah.
They're both very insulated. They might be good together, but once one gets out into the world, whether she becomes a world-renowned playwright or they go to college or whatever, one of them is going to outgrow the other.
Yeah.
It's going to happen.
Yeah.
And then that whole dynamic is going to come crumbling down. They're too much alike to be together. He needs to be with Me because she has that bubbly spirit. She can make you feel better. She makes him feel better about himself. She gives him personality. Even if he's just the straight guy to the jokes, he has a personality. She's bringing something out of him that nobody else really has been able to.
And you hit it on the nail. She's adaptable. Like she goes with his rhythms and stuff.
Well, she's adaptable with people in general. That's what she does.
Yes.
So like that, she's able to maneuver around so she can pull out. She can pull him out of that bottom tier mentality.
Yeah.
The bubbliness.
Good point.
Yeah. And he can like level her out. Like, hey, you don't have to do this for everybody. You can be yourself. Be happy with where you are. You know, they can level each other out. But he's going to end up with Kukichi because she's like the quiet girl. And I'm sure they'll play out the thing where it works in a way. But in real life, that would not work.
Well, in
most of the time.
Yeah.
Most of the time.
Spoiler, in the light novels, that's the way it plays out.
Jamal's got it.
See, what it is that he makes his choice, and it's Kukichi, it's Fukuwa.
That's his goal. He had to make the choice of who he wants to date.
Yeah, and I understood that, but as he starts to make his life choices, one of the choices that he's kind of like thinking about is being a professional gamer. Mm-hmm. And as he enters that world, there's people where Fukuwa, she's like, how can I compete with like the popularity and like the people in that world? Because they introduce a rival. And he's not really interested in this rival.
Yeah.
But she's like sex on wheels.
Yeah.
And he's not ready for this. And neither is she because she's like, wait, I'm this important to you. Why are you spending time with this person? Why are you, why is there anything? Why is this person texting you? Why are you in communication with this person? Why is this person sending you provocative photos? And so it's like you said, it's like they're going to outgrow each other because it's like he's just stepped into this world and already it's creating problems for them. And so it's like,
because they're both inexperienced.
Yeah.
Because they had that discussion when they were talking about her play and they were trying to figure out the ending. And one of his goals was to like discuss what you want in a partner or whatever. And so they're talking about it, and neither one of them really know.
No.
Neither one of them really can answer the question, and that's where the problem resides. Neither one of them have any sort of experience to pull on.
No.
So the second something like that happens,
it throws a wrench into the entire
situation.
Yeah.
So, no, I didn't mean to cut you off.
No. This became almost like a borderline review of the show.
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't think we was going to spend that much time on it.
Well, I mean, it's
a curious show. It's one of those shows
that interesting.
Yeah, show. It's curious why it's not ranked higher than it should be. It's still ongoing.
I think it's ranked pretty fairly for what it is.
Well, I think there's a lot more depth than I think a lot of people give it credit for. It looks a little bit shallow.
Yeah.
But for most romance slice of lives, I think there's a lot more depth to it than just there is and there isn't.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
I agree.
Yeah. For a show about people being not being their genuine selves, and you guys wanted to discuss the other romance show of the season,
Sign of Affection.
Mm-hmm. Sign of Affection.
Which I haven't seen.
We'll dip our toe into this because Jack has a guest that's coming on again, where we're going to discuss Solo Leveling and the Sign of Affection in depth. So we don't want to dive too deep into these shows right now. Yep. But go ahead, Sign of Affection.
Also, Sign of Affection, overall, it's about this girl who's deaf. And this girl is going to college. It's already setting up as a coming-of-age story. But at the same time, it's kind of a curious way of how we communicate. It's a show that tackles that. And the first episode, I'm trying to remember the motions. But basically...
she's on the train.
Yes.
And a tourist is asking her questions.
In English.
No, in Japanese.
Well, it was an English traveler, though.
Yes, he was like an English traveler, but he was speaking to her, and she's deaf, so she's freaking out because she's like, I don't know how to.
Her inner dialogue is I don't know how to address these people. Yeah. I usually come off as rude. Then all of a sudden, this gorgeous guy comes to her rescue. This white-haired, muscular, tall, sensational man comes to her rescue.
That's an accurate way to describe him.
Okay, Jack.
That's an accurate way to that's an accurate way to describe him in the scene.
Yeah,
because that's what's going through her mind.
Yep. And it's all glossy. Everything else is obsolete. And he speaks to him in perfect English. Oh, it's off of this exit right here. And she can read lips. And she's like, okay, this guy's kind of interesting. And it was like a moment where she'll never, quote unquote, never see him again. But he goes to the same school.
No, well, but before that, he's looking at her and he's talking and she's looking and he's
you're right.
Can you read my lips? And she's like, yeah. And he's looking and he's like, oh, okay, you must be deaf because he says he spoke perfect Japanese. So he catches on right away that the girl is deaf. And he's like, all right, this is my stop, chow, whatever. And then, like you said, they end up going to the same college.
Yeah. A little bit more background with him, episode by episode. He works at a cafe.
What is it? Is it Ishikawa?
Yeah. And she has a best friend. This best friend is one of my favorite characters. She's trying to pick up this guy that works there. So it's kind of like two birds with one stone.
And the guy ends up being their cousins.
Yeah. And it's similar to Uzaki-chan, kind of like their hangout spot before a venture kind of thing. And it's the most mundane adventures you can think of because they're feeling out at each other. There's one episode where they talk world travels in a laundromat. There's an episode.
This is the friend and the cousin, not
the love interest.
Not the love interest. Yeah. No, that's what I'm leaning towards because they're trying to bounce off each other. But,
I want to make sure that people know that it's not the deaf girl talking.
Yeah.
It's her friend.
Yeah, and with the main character, you hear her inner dialogue.
They invite them on a double date, essentially.
Yeah.
But it's not a date.
Yeah.
I haven't seen the show. I watched the first episode. I thought it was really cute.
She's going to be a front runner for what's that category that they have in Crunchyroll?
Must protect.
Must protect.
I could
She's
see
front
that.
runner.
Yeah, I could see
She's
that.
front runner.
Yeah, I could totally see that.
Yeah, and it's hard to describe the show because once you're in it, you're in it.
It's not that hard.
No, but
It's
you hear me out.
That doesn't sound hard. I mean, it sounds pretty interesting.
Yeah. What I mean is hard to describe because you're naturally enamored with the show, from the aesthetics to the communication, dialogue.
Between Bottom-Tier Character Tomozaki and Dangerous in My Heart Season 2, I wasn't like really looking for another romantic.
I know.
like,
I know. I think those are front runners. They
Yeah.
are. Yeah.
So this one kind of like fell under the radar for me because I had like plenty of other isekai shows to watch. So yeah, so you guys would have to lead the discussion on this one, but
So it was fine. I mean, it's Ishikawa's typical romance trope, I would think. The knight in shining armor. He is way too accepting and interested in this girl. For a couple episodes, you're just kind of waiting for the bad side of him to come out, and then you're like,
or the rival to jump in.
he's just going to be the perfect gentleman the entire time.
yeah, it's gonna have to be a rival.
You just kind of see that he has a rival.
Technically she.
Oshi.
Yeah.
Oshi, which was the brother of one of her childhood friends at the deaf school.
Yeah.
And he actually learned sign language to communicate with them. And he's very overprotective of her. And you could tell he likes her, but like he shows it in that like kitty way, like where he's always angry.
Teasing, yeah.
Teasing her and telling her you shouldn't be out at night like this and whatever.
And she's a grown woman. Like at this point, she's becoming her own person.
And so when he sees her out with Ishikawa, he's kind of like, "Who is that guy?
Okay.
What is he doing?" And it's not. It is part of it is because he likes her, and part of it is because like he knows that she's deaf and she has the little hearing aids in, but it doesn't work. It's just for appearances. So he knows that she can't, and he doesn't want somebody taking advantage of her. So,
Which he thinks this guy might.
and he thinks this guy might.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, why wouldn't he?
Yeah, and he's a smooth talker. There's a sequence where, because he's trying to learn sign language episode by episode, and she's like, "Why are you doing this?" And he's like, "Well, to talk to you."
Yeah.
Yeah. He's way too perfect. He's way too perfect. Except for the fact that he goes off on trips. Just like month-long trips.
Laos,
Just because he wants
to Germany. And he's a world traveler.
So you want this guy to either have an edge or
No,
like
I
some
wanted
kind
to.
of
It's Barbie land.
okay.
Like it's too perfect.
Yeah. But it's a matter of
Like-
how she understands it. Too.
It's you.
So we're talking Yamada at level 99.
I haven't seen it, but I'm assuming so.
Yeah, a little bit. That one's kind of like a Sign of Affection meets Bottom Tier because it deals with video games and all that.
Like sign of affection. It's if you're looking for just an innocent, cute, idealistic love story, that's what it's going to be.
It is. Yeah.
That's what it is. It's more so the internal journey of her, like acclimating into this world and, not being hindered by her impairment. Where it's like, all right, I can't go out and have these relationships. Like one of the struggles that she's having now, he wants to take her on her trip next time. But she's like, I don't want to use up all your money. So she's trying to find a job. But she's deaf. So it's like, where is she going to find
harder,
work? That sort of thing. So like you have that part of it. And that part is kind of more interesting to me. The love story between the two is just too perfect.
At the moment.
It's too Barbie.
There's no wrinkles or problems.
There's no wrinkles in
no
this
conflicts. Yeah.
Nothing. The only conflict was like, all right, he has this childhood friend. He has two friends from childhood, and one of them is a girl, and this girl has loved him from the first moment he's seen her, but he doesn't care about it. I mean, he cares about her as a friend, but he's like, I don't want to date
and she's
this
kind of
girl.
like trashy, like total opposite of him.
She's not necessarily trashy. I think she...
This is
From my perspective,
Yeah.
I don't think she was trashy, but I think the fact that he continually rejects and overlooks her depresses her.
Yeah, messy, more messy.
and it makes her look more trashy than she is.
Yeah.
Okay.
because she just wants to be.
So
with
this is
him.
a more realistic romance
Very.
than some of the other ones.
Very.
This isn't like
they're in the triangle. So the 3 childhood friends, like Ishikawa, and he has his friend named Shin, and the other friend is Ren.
Yeah.
So Ren likes Ishikawa, who's the dude that's dating the deaf girl. Shin likes Ren. Ishikawa don't want nothing to do with Ren. Ren don't want nothing to do with Shin. So there's this like triangle there where it would work out if you just go over there, because every time Ren got rejected by Ishikawa, she's calling Shin like, hey, you want to go out drinking? And he's like, yeah. And he does her hair and he does all sorts of stuff for her. She don't want nothing to do with him.
Yeah.
Because she's enamored with Ishikawa.
It's a vicious cycle in a weird way.
So it's like you have that like love triangle there that's more realistic.
Yeah.
And
I've heard many
okay,
stories like that too.
I could see that. And then you had this other love story where it's just like this come on.
Yeah.
It's too perfect. It's too perfect. Which it kind of takes away from me. I'm not saying it's a bad show. And again, we'll dissect this with a different perspective
Once it's complete too.
once B comes in. But I think it's worth watching. It's worth watching. It's pretty comfortable. You don't have to worry about it. I like doing random signs, and Christina gets mad at me. She's like, "That's not real," and I'm like, "Yes, it is. I saw it in the show."
No, my favorite's more.
Yeah.
It's like,
yeah,
how are you telling? Yeah.
She's like, "That's not it," and I'm like, "This is Japanese sign language. This isn't American sign language."
It could be like a different annotation.
Yeah.
Tell her, how are you telling me this? How are you telling me that it's not right? I saw it in an anime.
Yeah.
No, it seems accurate. It seems like there's some variation.
Well, I mean, I think they said like the creators of the manga or whatever like learned.
Yeah.
Sign
Like
language
they
yeah.
did like research into sign language or something.
cool.
Yeah, it's again
Definitely
I
something
like it.
different.
Yeah.
It's a solid show.
Overall, I don't think I know how you get so engaged with all these romances, especially Dangerous, especially Bottom-Tier. It's one that you can definitely like see in an open scope, Edwin. You won't like bleed your heart out kind of thing. Yeah.
Yeah, it's safe.
Yeah.
It's a safe romance. It's not something that's gonna like.
It's not like Casablanca. It's not
No,
like
it's nothing that's gonna get you in your feelings.
yeah.
It's a very safe
Yeah, I was
romance.
I wasn't sure about that, so I was like, I gave it a little bit of a wide
Yeah.
berth. I'm like, all right, I'm not really ready. I'm not.
Yeah. I know the connection that Dangerous in My Heart has with you.
Yeah.
You're not gonna have that with this show.
No.
Okay.
This is just.
Yeah, that one.
It's not even like.
It makes me think about my youth. Like around that bubble, my friends had triangles and like angles, and I'm like,
Well, for me,
outside
that's-
perspective.
Yeah, for me, that's what Dangers in My Heart kind of does. It's
Yeah.
like I'm so. He reminds me so much of me when I was in high school.
Yeah.
That it's kind of like it's a little bit like it's just like it's a little overwhelming sometimes. But yeah, no, I wanted to keep my distance from this one, but it looks pretty good. And from what you
It's a
guys
solid
have said,
show.
it does sound like a solid show.
Fascinating.
It's safe.
What sounds like other ones that Jack and I have watched.
Sing
yeah.
Yesterday.
Sing Yesterday, yeah. Oh, and I wanted to make a quick note about Perfect Blue. There was remember the instances in Toradora?
Oh.
Yeah, where they help her with her stalker and like
Yes. The story beat with that one.
Yeah, that was a good story beat for that one. I wanted to bring that up, but I forgot about it. So what would you guys like to discuss next? Would you like to discuss something that is new that's just new this season, or one of the ongoing ones? There's 2 that I would bring up. 3 at the most, because I feel that they need a little bit. Well, there's 2 specifically.
Mention the 3 that you want to talk about.
Yeah,
and then you can mention the 3 you want, whatever you want to talk
and
about.
If anyone mentions one of them or 2 of them, I'll just
Right.
Yeah.
And
Well,
then we'll end up with the ones that we'll end up with we'll end with Apothecary and Shangri-La.
all right, perfect.
So like the ones that like I've enjoyed this season that were new and weren't like I think big is the first one would be the Unwanted Undead Adventurer.
I watched that one.
Number one.
I watched that one.
Number one best surprise of the season.
We all
for me.
watched that one.
Yep.
We
And
all watched that
then
one.
the other one would be the Villainous Level 99. No, wait, not that one. That one's okay, but no, that's not. Seventh Time Loop. The Villainous enjoys a carefree life married to her.
I've only saw the first 4 episodes. And I like it. I like it.
And then the third one would be The Weakest Tamer Begins a Journey.
That's the only one I missed.
Yeah.
I did not watch those.
Yeah, those I think are the two other strongest ones. There's you watched Dr. Elise, and while I like that
I
one,
watched that one too.
yeah. Well,
I liked
like
it
that.
enough,
Yeah,
but it doesn't need to be mentioned.
The double
per se.
reverse isekai.
yeah,
And seventh time loop has like it's like a spirit of that.
yeah.
Kind of like same tone. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think that that one needs to. The Dr. Elise, I don't think needs to be mentioned or talked about.
No.
I think it's pretty straightforward.
It is.
I don't
It's-
think that it plays with anything.
It's very straightforward. I mean, a brief intro to it. So we meet her. She's a doctor, and then she gets into this helicopter crash, and she dies. And what during that we're seeing a flashback of her as a princess in this world, and we find out that she was a princess in this world. And she made a bad mistake, and they burnt her at the stake because she ruined the kingdom or whatever. So then she got reincarnated in this world as a doctor, and then she dies and goes back into the world as the princess again.
She gets a do-over.
She gets a do-over.
Yeah, she essentially gets a second
She
chance.
gets a do-over, and she takes her medical knowledge that she learned in this world back into that world. And so...
And it's a complete 180 for her character because
Exactly.
all that she wanted the first time around was to be the Empress.
Yes.
Yeah.
And she failed at it so badly that they burnt her and her family at the stake.
Yes.
Which, how wrong can it go? You know?
Yeah.
And so dying and being reincarnated, she's like, I get a chance to make up for my mistakes. And so that's why she becomes a doctor. And then that they give her a second chance. With this one and the one that I wanted to talk more about, the
Villainous.
the seventh time loop.
Yeah.
And she's not really. There's not really any moment where she's a villainess,
Well,
but she has like essentially she lives. Every time she dies, and she keeps getting killed, essentially in the same war.
in the
that's-
first episode.
Yeah, the same war that's created by her fiance, essentially her fiance that she marries in her seventh life. And while I enjoy this show, and I like like Sasaki and Peeps, this show doesn't sit still. They throw a lot of she's busy.
Yeah.
This woman's busy all the time, whether planning, scheming, trying to train to be a knight, pretending to be a man. I mean, like, there's a lot going on in this show. She doesn't sit still, and I like that about this show.
Yeah, and ironically, how it sets up is that it comes back to her engagement with another prince. It breaks off 7 times, and the 7th time she meets the villain, and the villain like is enamored with her for first instance. And
The prince, yeah. And he's killed her
in the
in her
sixth
previous life.
In the sixth
Yeah.
life, yeah.
Like, she's a knight, and she trained, and she's good with the sword, and she has no chance of defeating him. She meets him this time when she's trying to escape, and she manages to escape, and that's when he becomes enamored of her because he's like, what is this lady doing? He's like, who is she? He becomes intrigued, and it's all of her previous lives that have led her up to this. My only criticism of the show is that some of those previous lives seem a little bit more interesting.
Especially
in
the
this
maid,
life?
especially the maid one.
Yeah.
Ironically,
A lot of
yeah.
them, yeah. Like, she's traveled the world. She's been a maid. She's traveled the world.
Merchant.
She's been a merchant. She's been a knight. She's been like kind of almost a doctor too, because she has all this medical knowledge of herbs and medicinal.
Yeah.
Like, she starts growing like a little garden in the back just so she can grow medicinal herbs. And it's for this type of show, she's a very interesting character. And this romance is almost her way of saving the world.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's the hardest struggle.
Yeah, by taming this
Yeah.
guy and trying to figure out like what it is that drives him to start this war and essentially engulf the entire planet in it.
And what I like about it is similar to Sasuke and Peeps, how all those crazy routes, it desensitizes you in a sense of like, okay, at the end of the day, she just wants to laze around in this kingdom
Yeah.
at her own pace. Like, I know something's going to happen. I keep this guy at bay.
Well, that's what she says, and that's the title of the show.
I know, but it's so funny.
You
In a
know-
weird way, it's so funny.
It is, because it's like that's not what she's doing.
No.
Not at all. Like, at some point she's decided that, like, in order to survive, because she's been wiped out in each one of her lives, she's been killed by the
war is the worst.
The war. Yeah, the fallout of the collateral damage of this war that this man starts. And she's even been killed by him, but this is her chance to finally like retire, to live this life out. You retire, yeah. But in order to do that, she's got to stop this war that has killed her every time.
Yeah.
And I really, really want to see where this goes. I want to see where her training as a knight goes. I want to see where this relationship with this prince goes. And I'm not really into like these princess kind of like yeah.
It is what it is.
You know, like they're married to the demon prince or not. She's interesting enough, and what's going on is interesting enough where it's like I want to watch it. I want to see what happens. I think I'm as fascinated with her as the prince is.
Me too.
Like, what is she gonna do? You know, like what's she gonna do next? Like, I didn't see her joining the knights. I saw her like training with him a little bit, but actually getting a wig and pretending to be a man so that she can get that training. I'm like, she's crazy.
I know.
I'm like, what is she doing? And that's something that would happen in another show, and it's happened in other shows.
Yeah.
But not as, I want to say, well done as this.
More fascinating, a weird twist.
Yeah. Have you watched it, Jamaal?
No, I have not watched this one yet.
It's a show I think I could see Jesse liking it, or Arabella, or if they like the traditional isekais. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Because he likes Ascendants. It has the same type of flair as Ascendants.
Yeah. All right, and then we've all watched the Unwanted Undead Adventurer.
My number one best surprise of this season.
It's so good.
It's wonderful.
It's a very good show.
Yeah.
It's a very good show.
Yeah. I was surprised. I did not know what this show was going to be. When I saw the animation and the previews for it, I'm like, oh, this is going to be jank. This is going to be one of those jank shows that like doesn't have good animation, doesn't have a good story. It's just going to be like, I'm going to watch a few episodes of this and I'm going to drop it. But no, it's been really well done. It's been really good. I've liked watching his progression and I love his demeanor of like, I'm nothing special, but everybody else is like, dude, you were the guy.
Yeah.
You know, you were the most dependable, reliable. Right. If we needed something, we went to you, whether it be training noobs or missions that like nobody else wanted to do.
I couldn't help but think about wrestling and how like those wrestlers you see throughout the years, you'd be surprised they're teachers. And he kind of has that
vibe to him.
Yeah. Kind of like a silent teacher, like in giving you the nitty and gritty of how to be an adventurer.
Well, even the head of the guild, he was asking about him. He was like, man, after he retired, I wanted him to work at the guild.
Yeah, he misses him.
Because he was that good at the job. And so that's what the girl at the guild is always telling. She's like, you don't really recognize how many people really adored you.
Yeah.
Like, you know.
Well, he was like a pillar of the community without even knowing it.
Yeah.
Like he was so kind of oblivious to the fact of how much, because I think he was so focused on his goal.
He was so focused on his rank.
Yeah.
Because he's just like, I'm just a D rank adventurer. I mean, he's just a D rank adventurer, and he's just doing these things. So he's just like, you know, whatever.
Yeah.
Nobody cares. But it's like, nah, man, people care because you showed all these newbies the ropes. You were always dependable. If there was a job that needed to be done, you got it done. Like, sometimes you don't recognize the impact that you have on other people until somebody else says something.
Yeah.
And that's a little bit later on because
your value.
Yeah.
Because in the first episode you see him in his human form, but then he gets attacked by this mysterious dragon that turns him into a skeleton.
Yeah, that's like
to the undead.
To the undead.
That was so jarring.
It's interesting.
Yeah, that was a very jarring transition.
It's interesting how jarring it was.
Yeah, because he's there one moment and then he's just like a skeleton the next moment, and you're not really sure how much time has passed. It seems like almost nothing. Like nobody really comments on like, oh, where has he been in that moment. It's just like, all right, it's like he's there, you know, and he's fighting and he's back in town, or he's like helping these people. He was helping those two that were in the dungeon.
Right.
And then he's just there, and some people suspect it's him, some people don't. But that was a really jarring transition for him. And I'm not really sure how much time he spent as a skeleton before he moved back. It just seems like it was like a month.
Yeah, it doesn't seem like it was a long time at all.
No.
In the guild later on, it's like, where is he? Like, and it's because he has to climb up from being a skeleton to a ghoul.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, he goes from skeleton to ghoul.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Well, he doesn't know that
yeah.
when it's happening. He starts off as a skeleton, and
He stays in the labyrinth.
as he's doing things in the labyrinth, he evolves.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like a mini evolution shonen type thrown in there. And he eventually becomes this borderline servant undead where he can talk coherently. And he happens to have a childhood friend, or not childhood friend, kind of longtime friend with Lorraine. Kind of acquaintances for a while.
They were, you could call them friends.
Yeah.
Well, she was a girl that was an academic or something.
Yes,
and
yes.
he was out on an adventure.
It fits perfectly for him.
Yeah.
Because this is somebody who has a need, and he would like, he's like, I could totally see her like putting up like missions on the board, like I need X plants, or I need this, or I need that. And him gradually like, all right, I can do these quests.
And it
He's
feels like
yeah.
and it feels like she already did that with him. Like she already they
them
have a good
falling
rapport.
into them falling into that like I have a need, he feels it, like back and forth.
Well, he saved her from something.
This is some type of mission.
When she was younger, he was on a mission, and he saved her.
While she was in the dungeon.
No, forest.
Yeah, she was in the forest.
Okay,
She's
that's
being
right, yeah.
attacked.
Yeah, she was being attacked in the forest, and he saved her. And she just kind of was beholden to him after that.
Yeah.
Because they would just, continue to interact.
Yeah.
And like you said, I'm sure he took up some of her mission.
Oh yeah.
I'm sure he took up some of her missions for stuff.
Well, I think he cleaned and cooked for her too at some point.
That was one of
because
that was one of the funniest moments. Like,
Yeah.
mind you, he's an undead, like unsavory guy, and she's like, "Oh, you've been such a lifesaver. You've been cleaning, you've been cooking. He's undead, dirty guy."
She doesn't care about none of that.
No.
She's all into her studies.
It was
She
like out of the
doesn't
picture
care
moment.
about none of that.
Stereotypical academic.
Yeah.
Stereotypical, not with the stereotypical academic look.
No.
So she's
No.
so
Definitely.
So that's definitely anime trope-ish.
Yeah,
that's
definitely, definitely
Yeah.
the prettiest croc, I'd say, for this season.
Yeah.
She
She's definitely
kinda-
up there. Yeah.
She's definitely up there because she has that look. The important part about that is it plays a thing because, once he moves in with her, he's like, all right, I got to, and she's like, well, you got to come up with a new name. He's like, and he uses her name. She's like, why are you doing that? And, and he's like,
It's
well,
not to sully her name.
yeah, it's not to say your name because it's like, well, how would it look if you're a woman, you're by yourself, and
Some
this dude,
guys coming in
yeah.
there.
And so,
and the
like-
guild noticed it too.
yeah,
And that fits with him. Like
yeah, exactly.
Being-
it fits
being
his
thoughtful.
character.
Yeah.
So when you see her as an academic like that, you're kind of like, oh, is this fan service?
Yeah.
But then,
Yes and no.
It's fan service.
It's a clever
Yeah.
way to
but
twist
at
it.
least they understand it, and they're like, all right, they give a reason for it.
Well, there's a fully fleshed out relationship there where
Yes.
like he's considering her and she's considering him.
Yeah.
And so while you still have the
And it's not necessarily romantic either.
No.
I think her feelings for him are a lot stronger,
Yes.
but it's
Well, I
not
think-
necessarily a romantic relationship.
Well, I think it goes back to his obliviousness and his like his dogged determination to become like something else, and like to almost like to his detriment, where he doesn't see his worth and he doesn't see his value.
I agree.
And it's like
and how the show plays it, they like little by little because everyone's like, no, like those little instances of people reminding them how useful.
well, even the
it
girl
is.
that works at the guild, she
Yes.
obviously has.
That's the
yeah.
number one.
She cares
Yeah.
about him a lot too.
Yeah.
And it's not when we say he's oblivious, it's not like Tomozaki from Bottom-Tier Character where it's like completely self-depreciating. He has value. He has worth. Yeah. He just doesn't know that it's higher than what he places it at.
Yeah, the esteem that people
because he's
toward him,
right.
He doesn't internalize that.
Yeah.
And that's what I mean when I say he's oblivious to it.
Yeah, because he's
Like, there's
focused
no-
on being an S-rank adventurer.
Yeah,
like
yeah.
a great S-rank adventurer, and he doesn't realize that, like, dude, you are a great adventurer. Some people just don't have the strength to do that.
No.
And it's not because you work hard. You're teaching people. You're guiding people. You're everybody's favorite adventurer.
Yeah.
You just don't have the strength to do the rest of it.
You're just not the greatest.
You're just not the great. You're not the strongest. You're not the greatest.
He doesn't see the value in that, and it's odd that we're having this discussion about the dude who died
to be reborn.
I know, right? I mean, it's a complicated discussion about a character. Where an anime where it's more about him being dead and reincarnated, but you get that depth where, and I think that's why we all kind of ended up liking this show, because it has that character depth where and it doesn't play it in a goofy way where some shows would have.
There's a weird normalcy with it.
Well, like with
Sasuke or
no, the one from last season that we liked.
Handyman? No.
The Paladin.
Oh, Faraway Paladin.
You mentioned it with Faraway Paladin.
Great Cleric?
The Great Cleric.
Oh, okay.
Where in that one, it's a little goofy.
Yeah.
Like everybody holds him to a certain esteem.
Yes.
But it's played more for laughs, and it's a lot goofier. In this one, you don't get the laughs.
No.
This is more straightforward, kind of like
very much so.
But the funny moments are just like,
oh yeah,
like when he tried to learn how to speak again, he was like, no.
Yeah.
That's cute. It was cute.
I don't know if you've watched the most recent episode. That was he finds a familiar, and that was pretty funny. I don't know if you've seen it.
No,
I have not seen.
It's my Sunday show.
Spoiler warning: he finally gets a familiar, and it's pretty funny. That was pretty entertaining. There's a moment where he's like, "Wait, does he think he's in charge?" Yeah, so that was pretty good. That was a lighter inclusion to this than I was expecting.
Yeah,
but I think you guys will get a kick out of it. It's very out of Miyazaki, and I was like, I wasn't expecting that for this show. I get the arcs.
When he goes back to the dungeon with the new party.
Well, with a lot of shows, no, I like that.
That was cool. I like it better than the Freeing, to be honest.
The test, the rank, yeah. I think the ranking test to increase his rank, that was a really good arc.
Yeah.
I thought that was superb.
I agree.
The one with the fishing village, I thought was a little bit weaker.
Oh, okay, yeah, there you go.
Yeah, I thought that was a little bit weaker.
I agree.
What was the fishing
where the girl's going to be sacrificed?
Oh yeah, I didn't.
It was just whatever. It was one episode.
Yeah. I think that was a little. I think that goes to building his mythos.
Yeah.
Because it's like everybody knows it was him.
Yeah.
But they're not letting on that it was him. And I think doing these missions
and showing his power
exited my mind really quickly.
Yeah, it wasn't a really great
It's one that okay, this is how powerful he is now currently. Okay.
He's becoming that powerful adventurer that he wanted to be.
Yeah, he definitely
by solo leveling.
They milked in the first couple episodes, which I appreciate. I'm like, okay,
well, dying actually, it might be the first for him. Dying might be what finally gives him access to his main goal.
Yeah,
solo leveling.
Yeah.
He's solo leveling.
He's solo leveling. He's
solo leveling.
Yeah.
Speaking of Labyrinth,
he's solo leveling.
I want to see his. I do and I don't want to see his evolution into a vampire. I don't know if that will detract from I want to see where this goes. I want to see his journey. I think this was episode 8 or 9, and so I'm kind of like, man, there's only 3 more episodes if this thing doesn't go to
either 12 or 13.
Yeah, and so it's how are they going to end this? What's going to be the next arc? It's got to be big because it's you can't just he can't go quietly.
Yeah, it kind of has the same pace as Skeleton Knight in the sense it'll be something, but it won't be $2 grand or.
Yeah.
It's going to have to be something.
I thought that this was better. This is better done.
Yeah, I agree. That's the thing.
Skeleton Knight,
that was the disappointing aspect of Skeleton Knight.
Yeah, that intro. But who could live up to that intro?
Well, I do like the opening and closing of the show. It's wonderful.
I do like them too. Yeah. Cool.
Well, I could do my 2 quick ones.
What you got, Jack?
Well, I'll do 2 quick little catch-ups. The first one is Burn the Witch prequel.
Of course.
Burn the Witch 0.8.
Of course.
No.
It's good.
No.
It's good.
No.
It's good.
No.
It's good.
No.
It's A-okay.
You have to let
brought
Jack
this up.
I knew he was.
when we were talking about the chorus recoil. So I can't let him bring it up now. It's like,
It's just one episode.
go ahead.
Well, it's a cute little prequel, quote unquote.
Is Jack, is Burn the Witch. You knew this was going to happen. You knew this was
It's
going to
only
happen.
one episode.
I had blocked this from my memory
you know what? I want to give him credit
for holding this long.
Look at him smiling.
Yeah.
That means he likes it.
Oh yeah.
Because usually this would be the time when he trashes something that he talks about incessantly.
But he
and we get
hasn't
mad.
talked about it incessantly. That's the thing, though. He hasn't like.
He did when we were trying to tell him about Licore's recoil.
Yeah, but since
And
then
that went on for months.
since then he hasn't hype bombed it, and you would think.
I
that,
think he
like-
didn't know about it.
Really.
What are you talking about? I misheard you. What were you guys talking about?
Burn the
You
Witch.
yeah.
That's what I'm. Yeah.
You hype bombing stuff, and you didn't really hype bomb this.
No.
Yeah.
It's a weird show because, mind you, it's the creator of Bleach. It had its moment in the sun a couple years ago, 2020 range. And I feel like it's a show because of all these Magical Academy shows on the picture now. I think it would be like a weird precursor towards those things because it's a take on Harry Potter. It's a take on dragon lore and all that. Because this whole society, they have two barriers. Ones that are in the modern world of England and the other modern part of Dragonland. And these two witches, Noelle and I'm already blanking on her name, Nilly. They're pretty much the cream of the crop of the show because they how they bounce off each other in their sassy ways.
The blonde and the brunette.
Yeah, they're wonderful. The brunette being calm and cool and collected, being the ultimate prodigy, whereas Nilly's kind of like Harry Potter, kind of like a false celebrity. And it's almost like a recap episode because the first season is 6 episodes, and this one's like it could be episode 7 because how they're glued together.
How long is the episode? Is it just like a
30
20-minute
minutes.
episode? It's just a 30
Yeah,
minute.
and I feel like it sums up the show perfectly.
Okay.
It introduces back to background characters. It kind of gives them a semi-focus. No, it's straight up new content, but in a tone like it reminds you who these characters are.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Oh, I see what you're
Just
saying.
adding
yeah.
a little depth
Think of like
to it.
Jujutsu Kaisen Zero, but
like the missing pieces from Horimiya.
but less prequel-y in a weird way, even though it's titled 0.8. So
Okay.
yeah, and then the second one, this one I
Burn the
highly
Witch, the missing pieces. That's what it is.
yeah, there you go.
There you go.
And for the second one, I highly recommend this one to you guys because I think you guys would appreciate it, especially with your busy lives or trying to balance both work and life. And this one does it to the perfect denominator. Mr. Villain's Day Off.
I watched the first 2 episodes. of this. This is actually pretty good. It's pretty funny.
And it encapsulates my soul. It really does. Because how it's set up is like this villain who's similar to like the villains in Power Rangers.
Yeah.
He bounces off all these Power Ranger heroes every day, but he rarely gets days off. So the show focuses solely on his ultra persona, living in the modern society of Japan and just living his off days. And
This show's nuts.
yeah, because it's the most mundane things you can think of.
It's nuts. This
Yeah.
show's nuts. This show is nuts. I was like, this show is nuts. It's just like, it's nuts because the second
So
episode.
it's a Jack show.
It's absolutely a Jack show because in the second episode, he's walking around the mall with these 2 kids who just happen to be like,
the Power Rangers.
they happen to be like the pink and yellow ranger or whatever. And he's like, he acts like, he's like, where's your dad? And they're like, we don't know, we're lost. And he's like, all right, well, come on. And like, can we get ice cream? He's like, no, please. Fine. Don't spill it. And you're just like, what is happening? And you get all these weird jokes about like, is that their dad or is that not their dad?
Well,
And he even tells them like, you shouldn't talk to strangers, you know?
that was the key takeaway because at the end he's like, "That's the whole point, guys. You're not supposed to talk to me."
You know, yeah.
and they know that it's their rival because
the girl at the counter says, "Oh, that wasn't their dad."
yeah. But it's the backtrack a little bit. Like he sees those Power Rangers in the open world, but they don't make a big deal out of it.
Well, he gives like no shits. Like he's like, "This is my day off.
Yeah.
I don't give a shit about like, you know, like who's who or what they're doing." He straight up ignores his coworkers
Yeah.
because he's like, they're like, "Oh, I saw you." He's like, "Oh, that wasn't me." He's like, "That was not me," because this man is going to enjoy his day off He's not going to let anything interfere with that, whether it be his coworkers who are trying to take over the world or the people who are trying to stop him.
Yeah.
And that Raid Ranger guy is like, how he made it onto the team. He's like the clueless guy who gets lost like everywhere he goes.
He has horrible sense of directions.
Oh yeah, and it's
pretty much me in any like RPG.
Okay.
I have no
even like Skyrim.
I have no idea where I'm going. That's why it needs to be multiplayer, so I can play with somebody.
You can follow where they're
and I
going.
can follow where they're going.
Yeah. But overall,
and whoa! This is a very important. Jack finally has a PlayStation 5.
Hey,
the games you will play, sir.
I pre-ordered Final Fantasy Rebirth. I'll play it eventually.
We're gonna have to find a game where we all can play.
Yeah,
that's not Destiny.
That's not Destiny.
Part of me wishes
even
I
though
was
it's
part
free.
of Destiny.
Even though it's free, you know is Destiny is that going to be a free game of the month again this month?
For Destiny 2, I thought.
I wonder how many players there are on the Star Wars.
Oh, the original Battlefront?
Yeah. That would be fun.
I don't know.
That would be fun. If there's a 3 to 4 player, that would be
fun.
Fucking awesome. Like I would break shit. Like I would take time off. No.
It's been a missing phase of mine for a long time.
I tell stories about playing that game.
Yeah.
It was me, Tony, crazy cousin Tony, and Sir Coffrey's brother. We used to play that game I had to retire from playing that game. I got a 200 kill count. I got a 200 kill count on a game where there's only about 60 stormtroopers by randomly killing respawning sand people.
Oh, lordy.
Yeah. Tusken Raiders, man. Because there was a Sarlacc pit.
Oh, there you go. The Sufu.
Witch Queen.
No, Sifu.
Destiny 2. The Witch Queen. Free.
I remember when Eric got like Battlefront.
He got Battlefront 2
for $20 with all the DLC,
what?
All the characters.
What?
I was so pissed.
What?
Yeah, I found out from Short Round she did the same thing.
That was hilarious.
Like, man,
that was this past month, right?
No, this was a few years ago.
back.
Oh, wow.
Oh, he was so. This is when
so
they gave
mad.
us like those Christmas card things or whatever. Yep. He was so mad at Eric.
Yep. Because I paid $60 for the base game. Then it was $15 for every DLC, and they had like 4 DLCs.
And the original game they gave you was complete garbage.
It was garbage.
There was nothing.
EA nonsense.
There was nothing there.
Yep.
Because I remember going to your house and we were playing that.
And there was nothing.
And we're like, there's nothing.
Yeah.
There's nothing to do.
No.
There was nothing.
No, unless you were playing with a bunch of people. I mean, there was no like fight mode just for like, because that was the joy of Battlefront. Like you had that. I don't want to take up any more time from
No, that's all right.
But like, yeah, that was my little rant. But
that was crazy.
Yeah.
Well, I'm good with those shows.
Yeah, we're not playing Destiny 2, Jack. I'm never playing.
We do need a game together, though. We do need like a co-op game.
There's a few other things that I'm just gonna briefly mention, like just randomly.
Yeah, go for it.
Like not even go into depth. The Weakest Tamer, I think, is pretty good. That one's in English for some reason, but it's pretty good. She gets kicked out of her village for not having skills that they assign you at birth. But that's a pretty cool one. That's a pretty cool one to watch. It's a good fantasy one. And then there's Fluffy Paradise.
Yes.
Where a character gets reincarnated and her only request is that she can essentially like be around fluffy animals.
I like it.
And they flock to her. There's a dragon
that
talks to her. That was a pretty cool scene. And that's pretty much it as far as this season goes. Everything else, I mean, are the big ones: Apothecary Diaries, Freenan, and Shangri-La Frontier.
Alrighty.
Jack, you got any more?
Those are only 2 I wanted to mention. Quick shout outs because those were definitely good surprises.
Those were only 2?
Yeah. The only disappointing one I had was gushing over magical girls. Just avoid that one like the plague.
Well, I heard that's like etchy. Like you get like
you said avoid
she enjoys. Doesn't she power up from torturing them?
Yes. Well,
some BDSM stuff.
The only reason I watched it up to a certain...
I heard it's pretty funny.
Well, I watched it to a certain point only because my favorite VA, Aoi Koga, she was one of the side characters. I'm like, okay, I'm good. Because the... what's it called? The taboo nature, the know, the hentai overtones are too much for me. S&M crap. I'm like, I'm good.
If Jack says okay, so we need to say this about Jack. Jack is very difficult for Jack to just outright trash something.
Yeah.
Because of his kind-hearted nature.
Yeah.
So if he comes out and just straight up says something like that,
then, yeah,
we know not to even push it.
Yeah.
He does not like
I was
this.
looking forward to it because I was the only one I can remember her being in that cast. And even the lead character, all the voicing when I watch is pretty good. That's the lone positive I give it, but everything else, I'm good.
Jack's like, no.
It's not even worth repeating the story.
Well, there's the Chained Warrior, I think.
Similar thing.
It's similar.
I'm done with S&M crap.
Yeah.
But that one apparently ranked up with my anime corner. It's like around 9 or 8 at the moment.
Yeah. It's supposed to have really good fight scenes. Yeah.
I'll leave it be type of show. I'll leave it be.
Well, these things are done with pretty decent production values.
Yeah.
Pretty
And-
decent voice actors.
Yeah, I'm not demeaning like the creativity or like the intentions.
Well, I don't think that we're the audience for those shows.
No. It's just
This is definitely like more.
It ain't me. I ain't even think about giving it a shot.
No.
Well, this is more of a niche fetish like thing for, I think, more of a Japan, like
well, they add in
a
like,
male Japan audience.
yeah, and the typical like fan that jumps into anime and like, oh, this is the craziest show I've ever seen, like that type of.
Well,
like,
yeah,
nonsense.
but I don't think. I think even then, these shows aren't like mainstream. You got to go hunting a little bit for these.
Yeah, and then overall, this season was not the worst. It's definitely one that gave you at least the breathing room before spring season.
Yeah. Well, except for the big shows.
Yeah, well, we'll dive into it.
And like, I want to talk about that battle scene in Shangri-La Frontier because that was phenomenal.
All right, so a little recap with Shangri-La Frontier.
Oh, wait, hold on. Let me give you these real quick. All right, so I watched my instant death ability is so overpowered.
Did you watch that one?
Yeah.
I got like 3 episodes in and I was like, I can't. He's ridiculous.
He is ridiculous. You know what?
And I don't even know what the show is supposed to be.
This is another one of those shows where it takes about 6 episodes for you to like really get it. Like with those first 2 or 3 episodes, I'm like, "Why? This sucks." Like that was my thought. Like this sucks.
Yeah.
But I'm like, I don't know if they're gonna watch this, so I want to cover something.
Okay.
And I like my thing is I try to watch a show on all the different streamers.
Yeah,
So-
and High Dive was relatively quiet.
Yeah, you had Dangers in My Heart, and that was pretty much all that.
Yeah.
So this was on High Dive, so I watched it, and I'm like, oh, okay. The first 2 episodes, they don't really tell you much. So there's these kids from the school that's on the school bus, and then they like randomly just get isekai'd into this world.
Yeah.
It's just weird. And he's OP. But within the last like 2 or 3 episodes that came out, you kind of get his backstory.
Oh, okay.
And it's like, you should have led with this. And the problem is, like, now that you get his story, you understand what's going on a little more and you understand why he's so OP. But it's like you said, like, you had to push yourself through that. If you didn't push yourself through the, like Jesse said, he gives it 3 episodes.
Yeah.
If you gave it this 3 episodes, you were not going to finish it.
No.
I
know what you're talking about because at the very beginning they have that flashback where like he's in some kind of government facility,
Yeah.
like taking people out left and right, and he gets to this girl and she's like, "How did you get here?"
Yeah.
And you know that something's obviously up.
Yeah.
It was a very like Elfin lied
Yeah.
kind of situation.
It's has
Where-
instance with that too.
Yeah, but like played in a really jokey kind of way.
Yeah.
Like Fruit of Evolution kind of like.
Yeah.
I'm like, these guys, and then the heroes are all skeevy. And then, like, it seems like the people who are running the world are kind of skeevy.
It's just a show that doesn't mesh together well.
So, like,
Well,
the
because,
last
like, with Sasuke-
the last 2 episodes, like, covered that scene.
Okay.
So it's like, oh, okay.
It makes more sense.
I get it now.
Yeah.
But it took you 8 episodes to get there.
Which is not,
And
like, yeah.
most people aren't going to do that.
No.
Not when you're trying to juggle 10 other shows.
Yeah.
There was so much that could have been solved if you would have got to this earlier, that it would have made it a better, more cohesive show. So it's just not, if you stuck with it, it's just now getting to a point where you're like, oh, okay, this isn't bad.
Okay.
But if you just gave up after those 3 episodes, which you very well which you probably should have.
See, that's what kills me about some anime where it's like, how do you recommend something that like, and some I can't like off the top of my head I can't remember which shows I'm talking about, but there are some shows where it's like if you watch to a certain you get to that one arc that's the payoff
Yeah.
for the entire show, and you're just like, how do you tell people like, hey man, you got to sit with this till the end because that ending is a payoff for the entire season, and it's like it will blow your mind. It will be one of the best shows you ever watched, but it's like you got to sit through like either you have to either be confused or you might be like, what am I watching? But then it's like, and that's the crazy thing about anime.
Oh, I got that. I got that with my second one.
Yeah.
I got that with my second one.
Okay, go ahead. What's your
What's
next
the second one?
Metallic Rouge.
Oh, wow. Okay. I watched the first episode of this, and it was such a Blade Runner ripoff that, like, I can't. I'm like, I don't know.
Yeah.
This is
for me. How they jumped in was from like, no.
This
I'm
is
good.
Blade Runner meets Vivi.
Yes.
Yeah.
A little bit of Edge Runners. A little bit of Edge Runners.
I don't know. I ain't watched that.
Yeah.
I was not going to watch that and get on your bad side.
No.
It's a good show.
Blade Runner meets Vivi. Oh my goodness! I had like 4 things in my
Oh, my
head
God. So there's a lot going
when
on.
I was there's a lot going on in this show. This show is very strange
Yeah.
because there's
I got that vibe from the beginning.
a lot of things about it that you would like that you like.
Yeah.
The aesthetics, especially. Yeah.
The aesthetics are great. The music, like the intro song, sounds like something Tina Marie would make. Like the music in it is good. This has the makings of a great show, but the story just isn't there.
Wow.
It's just not
I
there.
agree. I
Yeah.
agree.
All flash, no substance.
Yeah.
The story's not there.
That first episode, especially. For me.
And I'm sitting there trying to figure out, like, what in the world is going on here? And we're like on episode 8, and I'm still kind of like, what is going on here?
Yeah.
So, like,
That's pretty bad.
so this is like an original anime, and this is from Bones. Studio Bones.
Which is a good studio.
It's
Very
a good
good studio.
studio. There's so much to like about this show, but they don't bring it together. The fight scenes are great. The animation is great. The music is great. I love the intro. You have a couple intriguing characters. The story is just like
Falls flat.
there's nothing. You don't know what it is.
Yeah.
And then they start kind of trying to tell a story, and you're like, there's too many pieces missing. Like, why is this going on? It was Blade Runner mixed with Vivi with a dash of what was that Will Smith Netflix movie?
Oh,
Bright?
Bright.
Really?
Bright.
Really?
Yes.
Edwin with a look of a lifetime.
That's why it's strange. If you continue to watch this show, you'll see it.
Okay.
Like
I liked
Blade Runners,
Yeah.
Vivi, Bright.
So these are all things that I liked, but like that first episode,
They're all things that we liked,
Yeah.
but they don't mix.
which is kind of like insane because Vivi kind of reminds me of Blade Runner, spiritually. Like that kind of like expansion into space and the use of like of these artificial humans. For them not to be able to pull that off just seems like, and I felt that from the first episode, like it felt so disjointed.
Yeah.
Like I'm like, this could be something, but it's not gonna be because it's gonna be so vague that it's not like, these kids are up to something. They have some kind of goal, but it's just gonna be given to you in hints and whispers because the guys who are making this show are so in love with the source material that they're not really focusing on this. They're like, hey man, isn't this cool? Listen to this great song. It's like Cowboy Bebop without like the actual like the heart or the substance or the story.
Yeah.
But it's like
The writing is out the door.
we're gonna distract you from that with like the production values and look at our cool mecha suits and like but like even in that first episode, I'm like, this doesn't grab me like at all.
No.
It's like it has.
It's just really pretty.
I don't know. I'm kind of like for me. It was just a lazy attempt,
It's
even with the production. Well,
You thought
it's
so?
like you
At
got
least with the
this
writing.
beautiful meal that has no seasoning.
Yeah,
that's
there
the
you go.
worst for you.
That's an
It's
excellent
just a beautiful
example.
meal with no seasoning.
That's an excellent
And it's just
allegory.
like, and you're eating it, and you're not filling up at all. And you're just like, it looks good, it smells good, it should taste good. I'm eating it, it's gone. I feel nothing.
yeah,
I taste nothing. That's what this show is.
yeah.
I don't think they're going to be able to pull it together.
Nah, I'm done.
Not after
This
8
is a,
episodes.
this is a one and done show for me.
Yeah.
I don't know. Some people might like it. I wouldn't say don't watch it, but I would say if you're looking for a good cohesive story, you're not going to get
the
it
place
here.
to go. Yeah.
You're not going to get it here. But
Yeah.
if
All
you're,
flash, no substance.
yeah, if you're a fan of those shows, like there's enough there where if you watch it, you'll be engaged.
And it's a shame because I'm always looking for a good sci-fi show,
I know.
and this
I'm
just-
trying, man.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well,
I
right
know.
away, like when I saw the trailer, I'm like, the mech suit. Like, I don't have a problem with mech suits, but when they get to the point where it's a mech suit that almost seems like,
Yeah, it doesn't even matter.
well, like, how much more can I add to the mech suit to the point where it looks like completely and totally like Alien? I get to the point where I'm like, I don't know if I'm gonna like this because it gets into that territory of Gundam.
Yeah.
And like it kind of reminded me of the Gundam suits, and I don't have any problems with Gundam, but I think that some of the Gundams get so extreme to the point where it's like, why do you have to have like 7 rocket launchers on
Right.
the shoulders?
I don't know.
Yeah.
They don't really explain it either.
No,
It's just like,
I could tell. Like,
all right, I got the suit. Like, what? There's a lot to be
unpacked.
and
And I don't-
this,
yeah.
and they're not going to do it
No.
because this is going to be a single season, self-contained thing.
Well,
I
it
can
seemed
tell.
like they spent a lot of time trying to be cool
Yeah,
instead of like that little bird thing flying around at the beginning. Like everything was really cool. It was like
Right.
right out of a movie.
it has.
Like I'm watching, like
yeah.
I'm watching a movie, like I'm watching like a Will Smith, like, you know, like I'm watching like a Blade Runner knockoff. And there were some of the scenes even felt like they were out of Vivi. Like the
yeah.
rooftop assassination
Yeah,
kind of felt like it was out of Vivi.
the singing lady. Yeah,
Like a lot of those things, like even the guy who is selling the drug, but then he's not selling the drug because he's somebody else entirely. Like there was a lot of misdirection, and I'm like, but for me, I felt like it just felt like one of these shows. Like we're gonna promise you a lot, but we're not gonna deliver on it, and that's why I was like, it kept sitting there in my watch list, and I'm like, I'm like, no. Something just told me no.
you're not missing out.
Yep.
It's very Vince Russo-ish.
Yeah.
Like they depend on the swerve a lot.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So it's like, ooh, swerve. You thought this was a good person? Swerve. Oh, you thought this
That
guy
was
was
the end of the
bad?
first
Swerve. And it's just a bunch of different swerve. It just doesn't come together.
No.
Okay.
It does not come together. It's like if you're trying to make a roux and you don't stir enough, or you're not stirring fast enough, or you're not pouring the milk fast enough, and it just doesn't come together. That's what this is.
Okay.
That's what this is.
That's a shame.
But again, I'm not saying I'm not saying it's bad.
Okay.
There's enough there for people to watch. Just don't expect a good cohesive story. I got 2 more.
2 more.
All right. One, that was my Crunchyroll. My Hulu watch, in addition to Undead Unluck, which we talked about. So Hulu, what is this show called? Ishura. Ishura. This is on Hulu. This is a Hulu exclusive. I don't know. Like, I keep watching this show, and I can't, like, no, I just can't really. It doesn't grab me.
Similar metallic.
So what happens here is the show starts. The Demon King is dead. A hero killed the Demon King. We don't know when. We don't know who. So now you have this world of people who like spend all this time training to defeat the Demon King, and there's nothing for them to fight for. So now we're in the point where we're trying to appoint somebody to be the new top dude, so everybody can strive to beat that person. And so so the first 5 or so episodes are like showing you these different warriors, and it's like the episode would be titled like Akira, but then it'll be ending talking about some other hero. And so like they're trying to split like 2 people's stories into these 24-minute episodes, and I'm like, that's a lot, man, because now you're confusing me. because you're jumping from this person to here. And then there's some political intrigue happening in the background. And there's just a lot going on. And I had too much to do and too much to watch to really like sit down.
Even you describing it, I'm like,
and
okay.
try to piece this thing together.
Yeah.
If you're like a battle junkie, I could see how this could be something that you like. And I think they should just stick to that. I don't need the political intrigue and all that stuff in the background. Just make it a battle junkie show.
Yeah.
The Demon King is dead. We need to appoint some new person to be sitting on the top like an Afro samurai type thing. Like, all right, this dude's on the top. Everybody got to try to chop him down to take the throne. Just leave it at that. If they did that, it'll probably be a better show. But it's not doing anything for me. Give it a watch, and like I said, I just haven't had the time to focus in on it and try to figure this thing out. But somebody else could watch it, and I'm sure they'll enjoy it and say that I was wrong, which I'm fine with.
Okay.
So that was my Hulu watch along with Undead Unluck. Yeah, we're on episode 20 of Undead Unluck, so I'm assuming we're going to get to 24, hopefully. Fingers crossed. So this second half of the season has been really strong. Again, it's so the end of like episode 13, you kind of like, so they had to accomplish these goals. And now they're at a point where there's been a big turning point in the show where there's been sabotage in the system, and they got to try to figure out what happened there and how to move forward. So without giving away too much, because I know we're going to deep dive with Jesse on this show, and by that time the show will be over and we could like really dig into it. But this has been a very strong second half of it. Like you said, those first 3 episodes, they're a little chaotic. Once you transition into like what the show is actually about, it makes sense. And now they threw in another loop, which just throws everything that you thought you knew into a totally different direction.
Oh, wow.
So, but it's in a good way. It's in a good way. So, yeah, do watch Undead Unluck. That's another Hulu exclusive. And then, Jack, the one you were talking about was on HBO Max.
And Hulu, Ninja Kamui.
Is it on Hulu?
It's also on Hulu. It's like a weird, because it's Adult Swim.
Oh, so, like, is it on Hulu? Like, do you have to have live TV Hulu?
No, it's straight up basic subscription. It's Adult Swim. Adult Swim has that deal with them, I guess. I still don't know the logistics of that, unfortunately.
There's too much going on.
Adult Swim, it's an own bubble anyway. Comedy Central, like the whole background.
Well, see, when I try to watch it on Hulu, it says I can only watch it with live TV. It doesn't show
Weird.
it.
Okay.
Like, it doesn't show it on there.
But I did watch it on Max.
I watched it on Max. I don't think it's on Hulu unless you have live TV.
Gotcha.
Because Warner Brothers owns Cartoon Network.
Yes.
So it's on. This is a Max exclusive, which is kind of weird to say.
Yeah.
And this is weird because it started like 2 or 3 weeks ago.
Yeah.
So
it's not following the regular seasonal.
It's not following it at all because this is a Toonami thing. And I think the last Toonami show we watched was Shinmu.
Yes.
So
yes, through Adult Swim too.
Yeah. So Ninja Kamui. This is a bloody good time.
It's fun.
This is essentially the Punisher with ninjas.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, that sounds like
This is the Punisher with ninjas.
Yeah.
I initially watched the first episode in English. I was thinking it was like going to be like.
I did too.
So essentially, it's Daredevil.
Yeah, a little bit, more Punisher.
Okay.
And
it's the Punisher with ninjas.
Yeah.
So this dude, he was a ninja in this organization that we really don't know too much about now. All we know is
3 episodes so far.
Yeah, it's 3 episodes. So all we know is he was a ninja in this organization, and he broke away, started a family, and now that organization is coming back to kill him.
Yeah, and he had to be in disguise this whole time. It's set in the future, so it's a robotic disguise. He uses a mask like a persona. He dresses like a white guy, essentially.
Yeah, he does. And his white guy name is like Joe Hegan or something.
Oh, no.
It is.
Joe Logan.
Of course it is.
Joe Logan. It's so.
Oh, my God.
So, anyways, the beginning of the show, you see him. He's having fun with his family. There's a scene where he's like playing a guitar, singing to his son over a campfire and stuff. And then they're going to put him to bed. And then the wife is watching the news on TV, and she's like, should we be worried about this? Because people are dying. And he's like, nah, man. And then next thing you know, you see all these red lasers coming into the house. And they come in there and they wipe out his family, wipe out his wife, kill his kid.
It reminds me of the anime scene in Kill Bill. Or at least that 20-minute window.
I ain't watched that.
No, I'm just saying. Like, it's the same vibe. If you've seen the movie.
I'm not a Quentin Tarantino guy.
I know. But it
Kill Bill's fucking awesome.
I watched
one,
like 20, 30 minutes of it, and that was it.
Kill Bill's a lot of fun.
But
I'm sure it is.
Yeah, and
Talk about a bloody good time.
And stylized like Afro Samurai, and that's why I watched it initially English. Because I already had a poll.
Because you mentioned, I think this one was the director of Jujutsu Kaisen Zero.
Yes.
Show. So we know how that was. We all love that movie. So you know the production quality on this is
off
good.
the charts. Yeah,
It's off the charts. So yeah, it's the Punisher. It's your typical like revenge thing. They killed his family. And so they think he's dead. He's not dead.
He's the most unique case of not dying.
he's not dead, and now he's on the warpath.
Well, they killed his family. Yeah.
And they killed his family. So bloody good time. That's all I can say about it.
So, do we want to discuss, since we're doing different streaming services and the anime on those services, do we want to discuss Delicious in Dungeon?
I was about to say that we didn't talk
about that at all. Yeah,
Let's do it.
That's one of Jack's favorites.
Yeah. For this season, I like it a little bit more than Free in this season, fun fact.
really. I'm kind of shocked at that.
Mainly with where Free is like for this arc. Let's put it that way.
Delicious in Dungeon.
So, side note, I had read the manga for this maybe about 2 years ago because I got it from one of our friends, one of the friends of the show, Derek Quint. He actually gave me this for my birthday, and it was pretty bizarre. I'm like, what am I reading? And once I got into it, I'm like, this is pretty cool. But watching them animate it is so much more fun.
Yeah.
Like just their reactions, the elf girl,
Marcel.
You knew Jack was going to know that.
oh yeah,
Marcel.
Well, that's Jack's waifus of the many, many elf girls. Let me correct that: blonde elf girls.
Yes.
There's a subdivision, you know.
Yes. Well, obviously, yeah.
I like how Alberto's picked up on it too.
Oh yeah, he picked up on it real fast. Like real fast. So we knew Jack was gonna like this show even before anything else. But the knight's fascination with food, with dungeon food, is just becoming slightly uncomfortable. Which is really funny.
It kind of hit its own peak in a weird way, but still enjoying the ride. Because that moment for me, how to set this up? Like pretty much from the first episode, we get these adventurers that have to go back to defeat this dragon because the main hero's sister is swallowed by the dragon, and their whole party's separated except for the thief and the elf and the hero. So they have to regroup and retrack.
Well, they didn't separate. They quit the group.
Okay, the two other ones quit.
They quit the group.
Straight up quit, yeah. So they regroup and go back to one of the main hubs of this labyrinth dungeon system. And mind you, this is a whole network of dungeons interlinked with each other. That's why I got confused initially, because I thought they were jumping land to land, but it's the same dungeon. So they go to this main center hub, and they meet this random offbeat dwarf who, because he overhears them mentioning how their food budget is out the window, like they don't have any money whatsoever. He's like, well, I could help, because he knows exactly what to do.
Yeah. Well, he sees them like, no, you guys don't know what you're doing.
Yes.
You need this. You need some fat. You need some vegetables. You have to balance. You have to have, and to survive in the dungeon, you have to have a balanced diet. And he tells them the things that they need. But they do a pretty good explanation as to what the dungeon actually is.
Yes.
And it's just essentially
An ecosystem.
well, it's a kingdom.
Yeah.
It's a submerged kind of like buried kingdom that's under a curse. Because the king of the kingdom like shows up at the beginning and tells everybody like, this is what happened. We were cursed. It's up to you guys to do something about it. Whoever can get to the bottom will be like, the guy. And so that's part of why they're doing it.
Yeah.
But this show is like, not only does the food look great, it's a really funny show.
Yeah, it's funny.
Yeah, it's really entertaining. It's really funny. Their fascination with food. Marcel and the other little kid who's actually
Chitlock.
30.
Chicklock.
Yeah.
He's essentially a hobbit.
Yeah. He's a halfling,
Halfling.
I guess would be.
Yeah, there you go.
It's hilarious because their disgust is like so hilarious. It's hilarious.
Yeah.
It's more like appalling curiosity. Like,
What's the knight's name? Leos.
Leos.
He's 100% into trying it.
Yeah. And he goes
He's-
head first.
He's like, I want to try it.
Yeah.
It's his restaurant week every day down there.
Pretty much.
And it shows his bravery. It shows why he's a leader, per se.
Well,
No, he just likes trying new things.
Well, that too.
it gets kind of uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Like there's liking new things, but this is kind of like become an obsession.
Yeah.
And I'm kind of siding with Marcel.
Yeah.
I'm like, do you have to eat everything in the dungeon?
Because him and the dwarf, they're both like looking at everything like,
This could use this.
this would look good.
Well, the dwarf makes a little bit more sense because for him, it's like Jack said, it's about the ecosystem.
Yeah.
And so the dwarf sees everything almost like he's got blinders on. That one moment where he trusts the
It's his own survivor mode in a way.
horse thing.
yeah, where he trusts the horse thing. It's kind of like you see his you see that he has these weaknesses too.
Yes.
Yeah.
Like he has these blind sides. Like
Yeah.
he's so trusting of the ecosystem that he doesn't think it will betray him, and then it does. And that's when he has to realize, dude, you're just a part of this ecosystem.
Yeah.
You're a meal just like everything else.
And ironically, he is part of it because he's the one that kind of like brings back to the earth. He replants things. He even cleans the toilets and things like that. He would have been happy if he never met these characters, but he's along with the ride kind of thing. So he's a self-centered a dwarf.
He just likes the dungeon.
Yeah. That's his house. That's his, like, he's got like all these little things that he leaves for. He's very considerate of like the environment and the people who come after him. He's trying to maintain this balance within the dungeon and with what he does. He has a lot of respect for it.
Yeah.
But at the same time, he's almost let himself go too much. Like, I love that scene where Marcel's magic doesn't work on him.
Yeah.
Because of his beard is
Because all
unruly.
the blood and the dirt and it's just her magic's just bouncing off of him.
He's unpure.
That was the was that the walk on water man?
Yeah, with the Kelpie. That's the horse thing.
Kelpie, you're right.
Yeah.
Correct.
But mind you, when we talk about why it's so funny, is because we're talking about all these dungeon monsters and random ass monsters you can think of being edible.
Yeah.
And then explaining how it's edible and how to cook it. So that's literally half the humor right there. And you'd be surprised where it goes. And for me, the peak was when they had that treasure food insect things.
Yeah, the treasure bugs.
Yeah, that's when I initially like this show's not getting from here on out because when you mentioned Chitlock and Marcel, how they react to these things is just us as the audience being like, really, just really.
They're the reflection of the audience.
Yeah.
Because you see that and you're like, come on now.
Yeah.
What's going on here?
But also kind of like the weird lore and mystery of the dungeon, how it's run things with the humans, because you bounce off everybody from different races, and it becomes similar to Brand New Animal, how all these people live in this society or of this dungeon world.
That is interesting. Yeah, that's one of the things where I'm kind of surprised by. Unlike campfire cooking, they spend a lot more time talking about the creatures that live in this world.
Yes.
And the way they like what they do, what their value is, how they fit within this ecosystem. It's almost like a field guide.
Yeah.
It's almost like
it's
you're
kind of
watching-
academic.
Yeah.
Very.
Yeah. To the point where it's like, not only does the food look good, but like Jamaal's saying, it's like it's almost an encyclopedia of the creatures in the dungeon and how they can be used to eat. They could release just like an actual like field guide, a dungeon field guide with all of the dwarves like knowledge and stuff, and like all of the writers really took their time.
Very.
And like got to know these creatures and like said, okay, this is where this is going to fit in the dungeon. So on this level, this is what you're going to have. And on this level, this is what you're going to have. And on this level, this is what you're going to have. So they really spent a lot of time like putting the work into like what each one of these levels was going to be.
And it's weirdly the main character, whereas our focus characters, you see scratches of their pasts, little instances of what they are and where they came from.
Yeah.
But it's at
like most anime,
yeah. But it's such a unique window that once you hear it, like, that makes sense.
Yeah.
That's why that character's like.
Because not only is it like, it's a really strong show.
Very.
It is.
Like, especially for Netflix.
Absolutely. I agree.
Yeah. Like, this is a really well done, really, like, the characters each have their own personalities. They each have their own, like, backstories. And that helps.
Yeah.
That really plays into, like, what's going on and how everything filters into cooking. No matter what they're talking about. Like, when she uses a lot of her blood, they're like, we'll give her liver. You know, it's like they literally, like, it's like, all right, how is the food going to relate to like what's going on screen?
Yeah.
You know, and it's like, and she's like, can I have something else?
Yeah.
And it's like, yeah.
And Marcel's reactions are priceless.
Yeah. Yeah. She's definitely there for comic relief.
Yeah. And ironically, she's the most powerful and the most wise. And yeah, it's similar for Ian. Kind of like, I'm just not sure about these things sometimes.
Yeah. Yeah. So for it being a Netflix show and for it being like
Trigger. Trigger finally doing something a little bit different compared to Mac, compared to futuristic stuff.
Well, I think Trigger's always trying to push themselves.
And this is their number one for pushing, literally out of their comfort zone. Because this is like you read the manga and you felt like it was more fantasy, like more like you didn't have any instance of Trigger whatsoever while reading it.
No, because it's like it's just a straight up like like it's fantasy.
Yeah.
But the Trigger does an amazing job with the animation.
Yes.
The art design, the music. I think that everything is really well done on this show.
Yeah.
It's definitely one of my favorites for the season, and it's because it's being released the way it is, because it's on Netflix, and because it's being released weekly. I think they're kind of doing the show a disservice, but you have to remember to go back.
Yeah.
It's like, the other shows are being released weekly too, but on Netflix they can kind of get lost. Like I know that Uncle from Another World really suffered from that. Yeah.
And like I said, because Delicious Dungeon already came out 10 years ago, and Trigger is notorious for wrapping up the projects one and done. One season, 24 episodes to 30, with Darlene Franks, with Kill la Kill. Like, are they going to wrap it up before it ends, or is it just going to be, we'll continue on? Like, they'll be first for Trigger as well.
Yeah.
They'll wait another couple years to finish it. So,
well,
I would prefer them to wrap it up, like have their own variation. To be honest.
Well, I don't know how long the manga lasted.
Yeah.
And I don't know how long. There's too many question marks with it being like a Netflix show.
Precisely.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Netflix, I don't think Netflix and Trigger have ever like collaborated like this. So it'll be wait, did they do Edge Runners on Netflix?
Yes. And Brand New Animal.
Yeah, Brand New Animal. So yeah, those went well. But they were only 12 episodes. They weren't like longer.
And they're created by Trigger. And while Edge Runners being adapted, their first adaptation.
Mm-hmm.
We'll see, man. I hope they continue on with the show and don't wait too long.
Yeah.
Where you kind of forget about it. Because I think, especially with these bigger anime like Demon Slayer, like that we know we're getting it every April. It kind of like raises your expectations for things.
Mm-hmm.
So you're like, I want it every year.
Yeah. I want it today. I want it every day.
I want it every year.
Yeah.
Why am I waiting 2 and 3 years? But I mean, when you really think about it, I mean, that's kind of how it was.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because we have to consider the studios and how most studios aren't just doing one project. They have 5, 6, 7 different projects going on
in the pipeline. Yeah.
So they can't just like stop and do this for 5 seasons.
Well, they have limited resources too. Yeah. There's only so many artists and so many.
And none of them can be like Mappa at times. So yeah.
Well, it takes time too.
It's a huge studio.
Yeah.
So it's like, they have the wavelength to do these heavy hitters back to back to back to back just because there's such a huge studio. But I mean, with that also comes problems because we've read the issues that Mappa's had and how they've been overworking their people. So, I mean, And when you think about the shows that they've been pumping out and the production qualities on those shows, it's going to have to take a lot of work.
Yeah.
So, man, we'll see, man. Like I said, I hope they continue with the show, and I hope it's relatively soon. I don't want to have to wait 2 and 3 years.
No.
I really don't.
Yeah, because his sister's going to be dead.
And that's one of the funniest.
Digested, yeah.
Yeah, it's like, how much a careless brother he is.
Yeah. That was pretty cool.
Well, okay. So next would be Shangri-La.
Sure.
The 2 last big ones were Apothecary Diaries and Shangri-La Frontier.
Yep. So Shangri-La.
Wow. That, like, I didn't expect the fight scene. I didn't expect it to be A, this epic, and B, I didn't expect it to go on for as long as it did. And I didn't expect him to essentially solo this guy. Like, I really didn't. Like, I thought this was going to be, and it was a team effort, but I didn't think, like, he was going to be able to take on this guy on his own.
He figured it out.
He did.
He figured it out.
He did. He figured it out. Like, he followed, like, all of his trash gaming gave him the skills. He's like, I know the timing. I know the repetition. I know, like, what this guy's going to throw at me. It's like, I'm ready for this. And he figures it out. And it was like, I was kind of flabbergasted and stunned. I'm like, yeah, this feels like a video game.
I was about to say, because a classic example for me is Skyrim, because early in the game you get to this one area with the Companion's Quest where you have to kill this den leader. And this den leader is nerfed the fuck out. And every time I tried something different, I paralyze him, this and that, and then this. But one thing mind you, I played this game for over 12 years, always back at it. I love it to a million pieces. One thing I always avoid with my inventory is the squirrels.
Squirrels.
Yeah. And that's how I defeat them. I had this one for Frostbite, and it killed them within 10 seconds. I'm like, this whole time.
If you find their elemental weakness, that's usually the way to go.
And that's what happened with the second arc with this Tomb Guard. And I love how they added in lore. Like, they commented, like, oh, I'll read it later.
Well, this was just like with Final Fantasy, where it's like you've got the main mission, but it's like the best parts of the game are going off and finding that crazy cave where it's like you find the ultimate weapon because you have to defeat a Tonaberry that is 20 stories tall. You know, it's like, and his knife attack does 30,000 points worth of damage. And that's exactly what this was. This was like one of those legendary creatures that exist off the grid, and it's a special mission that you essentially discover after a certain amount of time. And I love the fact that the game developers were losing their shit.
That was funny.
Because,
I love that aspect of the show.
Yeah.
I love that aspect of the show where we're getting to the developers now, and they're like, whoa. You told me they weren't going to defeat any of these legendary people this early. So now they're freaking out.
Yeah.
So it's like
the game designer and the game architect.
It makes me think like, this is EA. Like you intentionally put out 10% of a game and you're going to figure it out later, and people broke it because they beat it too fast. And now you're scrambling. So it was so awesome to see like the person that's like writing the game and has the story, and the PR person
and the producer,
and they're all fighting. That I really enjoyed. Like, even after that epic fight,
because he broke the game,
seeing that side of it, I thought that was incredible.
He broke the game.
He broke the game.
He brought in all of his trash tier like tactics, and these people were not ready for it. And they're like, because he's OP, because he has played all of these trash tier games, and so he knows exactly what he's like, a gamer through and through. And so he knows all this shit that he needs to do. He knows how broken the game is. And it kind of reminds me in Bufuri, where she just kept happening into like all of these things that kept making her OP because she made that initial choice to just put everything into defense.
And that's a fascinating thing with Sanraku. He's not OP.
No.
He's not OP at all.
No.
His OP ability is just experience playing these games.
Yeah.
And that plays into it because, she's like, well, it's just timed as long as you stay alive for 10 minutes.
Yeah. And Pesagillion having the inventory, or Pentagon.
Well, he's a glass. He's like a glass jaw.
Yeah.
Because all he has is his speed.
Yeah.
his speed and his attack power.
And luck.
Yeah, that's literally it. That's his design build. Everybody's like, you shouldn't be able to do this because his little girlfriend has gone into like she's full on tank.
Yeah.
And she got
She's full. She's all offense.
and she
baby.
basically all of that from DLC essentially.
Yeah, she's like a traditional build where she's like full on tank, and she's like got like
Every tool.
yeah, she can wipe people out because she's full on tank. He's gone in the opposite direction, and he shouldn't be getting as far as he is, but because he's played all these trash tier games, he's like, I got it down. I know the timing, the everything, like Jamaal was saying. That fight was just like, I'm like, 3 fucking episodes of like,
peak cinema.
of just like, like, dude. Like, even just like Tomb Guards, like her realizing that he's undead. Yeah. And so holy water will probably work on him.
Yeah. It was so good. Yeah. And when he's just like, this is an A-tier game. Mm-hmm. There's no way like a 10-minute story element is going to be like, I got to defeat this guy.
Yep.
I have to defeat this guy.
Who knows if you'll ever go back or somebody else exploits it too.
He's just like, I'm not playing an A-tier game for the easy way out. Mm-mm. It's like if you're wrestling and you win via count out. Yeah, it's just like I don't want that. I want the 1, 2, 3.
Yeah.
So
to defeat him clean.
Yeah. So he's like, I want that, and like that's not. And then you got their whole side quest where they're like, look, we gotta hold this thing out because if those two get together, it's over for all of us. Yeah. So and another key aspect to this whole thing is they've all played with each other so many times that teamwork was already built in and they already knew each other's instincts. And it's like, all right, I know he's going to figure it out. We just need to give him the time to figure it out.
Yeah, it pretty much like decimated like Dark Souls ethos. Like, as long as you be patient.
It's one of those moments where, like Jamaal was saying, where you get into the story. Like, she got into the story, like she was emotionally invested.
Yeah.
That was an excellent twist.
Yeah. He's not emotionally invested, but the fight.
Yeah.
He's like, I'm going to win this.
Yeah.
He's like, I'm going to bring it. Him. Yep. He's like, I'm going to bring it and I'm going to win this fight. And I love seeing, because it's been a long time since I played a game where you have those two dynamics going on, where it's a fight big enough where you're like, if I win this, it's going to be epic.
That's me. That's me with Zelda. That's me with Zelda.
I'm ready for it. I've prepared. I've got my potions. I've got my material where I want it. I'm ready to go into this fight. And if you win, man, that feeling is just like unbelievable. But then you have her character where he's like, I'm going to win this fight. I'm ready for it. I'm set up. And then she's like, I'm emotionally invested in this fight. Mm-hmm. And it's been a long time since a game has like made me feel that way.
Right.
Where it's like, so just seeing that in this show, and like you said, seeing the developer angle with it, where like he broke the game.
Yeah.
He broke the game. He not only broke the game, he broke our timetable for the game. He actually pushed the game toward end content.
Yeah.
And he's like, that should not be happening. And then when he opens like his gift box where he's got like essentially a warehouse.
Yeah.
Got an
oh
item
my
box.
goodness. Dude, that was that was amazing.
Yeah, because I expected it to be something good.
Yeah, he expected it too, but he was
not
like
that level.
No, basically, he's the only one to grab this stuff.
Like he's got tanks now. He doesn't need his friend anymore. He's got literal tanks, and like I'm looking at this, I'm like, what is this shit? This is like from another game.
He's trying to figure it out.
Yep.
Because he's like, what is all of this?
Yeah. What did I get myself into?
He was just happy to be like, oh, I'm a level 68 now. Yep. I know I'm going to get some cool stuff. And
he gets like this mountain of cool shit.
Yeah, and Emil is just like, I'm just happy you're back. I know.
She was like,
that charm came in handy.
Yeah. Yep. For
so
luck.
Again, that was the story element that helped progress. Like you needed all of it.
Yeah.
You needed all of it.
Even Emil's father giving you that backstory, like the importance of it and the secret hint too. So it's the greatest isekai gaming anime ever. I'm sorry. I'm going to land Valhalla to mention that.
Well, I think it drop kicks SAO into the garbage.
I don't even think about that show anymore. It's like gone from my radar. I don't even want to complain about
It
the
just
show
drop
anymore.
kicks it into the garbage. And
Exactly.
Just like,
Exactly.
Although they're doing a second season of Gun Gale, which I'm excited about.
And another SAO.
I don't care about that, but I really liked Gun Gale.
And there'll be others. There'll be other imitators, but this one's like.
Oh yeah, but no, this one definitely.
This one is top tier.
Like Martin had talked to me about my VMO, my VR MMO.
Yeah.
And he said how that one was cute. He's like, that's not by somebody who knows games.
Yeah.
And Shangri-La Frontier is by somebody who knows and gets games and understands.
From the terminology to the networks to the broken games to
the trash games
to the DLC to the hidden side quests. Every little list you can think of with a game, like what you experience with a game, online game, for even regular role playing first person game.
Yeah,
it's beyond
all
awesome.
That stuff matters.
Yeah,
and even like I think we mentioned it when we were talking to Martin, when he's just kind of going on and he didn't realize that he could combine his skills.
Yeah.
And they're like, you learned that in the first world.
He didn't.
And he's like,
bother
I didn't go there.
Like, yeah.
He's like, nothing ever happens there. I didn't go there.
He's like, I don't have time for that.
Pencil Gun too, right?
Yeah.
She had a similar thing. Oh, and
no. Pencil Gun went.
She had to go again.
There you go. And I was meaning to ask you guys
She wanted to restart.
So that's why the girlfriend killed her.
Yeah, they summoned. After they defeated
Tomb God.
Tomb
God. Technically God.
Tomb Guard. Yeah.
After they defeated Tomb Guard, what were the PK killers' names?
Oh, just that guild.
Oh, Asha.
Ashura Kai. Ashura Kai came down, and they were all too weak to fight against them, and so they did the call a friend thing.
There you go.
And that's when Pentagon was like, I already got this set up. I already got it set up. Called her in, and she wiped them out.
Yeah,
and so they got to keep all of their stuff.
And she does it's because of affiliation with the guild. Okay,
so
that's the reasoning.
Well, that was I think her way of wiping.
She wiped the slate clean. With herself essentially, because she was like, I want to fight you. She knew she wasn't going to win, but she wanted to fight her and restart.
Yeah.
All right.
So and basically that was her gift to all of them. Because they're like, once I die, you can keep all this stuff.
Yeah, and she wanted to complete. Ultimately, she wanted to complete the story. That story.
Well, she doesn't want to be a player killer anymore.
That as well.
She wants to actually play the game.
Yes.
So
it gave her a new purpose. Okay.
Yeah. So she intentionally wanted to get killed.
All right.
But she wanted to go out battling the best.
Yeah, and she's like, I'm going to play this game the way it's supposed to be played instead of like sitting off the sidelines and like killing people for their stuff.
And in her fight with Oikato, when they're defeating the horse, that was my favorite moment of the
they were great too.
Oh, that was my favorite moment.
They were
especially when
great
Oikato was like, I got this down, I got my power-ups at the right time.
Well, she puts the sword into him and dude comes up and like
bam.
Yeah.
And right as I saw that, I'm like, all right, guys, this is my guaranteed top 10 for the year.
She had so many. Like this lady, she was ready.
Yeah.
She knew, she was like, she
was prepared.
She was completely prepared. She had every potion, every skill. She had everything.
Yeah,
she's
ultimate support character.
Absolutely. Like, absolutely the ultimate support.
She was the strategist.
Yeah.
And a support character.
Yeah.
And she like had her strategies just like, and they kind of followed her lead. But then when it came to fighting, it was like he was her like,
Raku,
ace
you gotta go. You gotta handle this.
Right.
But we know you can handle it.
We'll just do our thing.
And then the other dude is Jack, because he's like the fighting game guy.
Yeah.
He's like, I'm putting all
of my build. Yeah,
I'm putting all of my stats into my punching power and my speed. He was Jack because he was a fighting game guy. So like he was ready for it,
and he wanted the hardest challenge. Like I'm not doing the easy route.
Was it Final Fantasy VIII that had that kid,
or 7 with Yuffie?
Yuffie,
or 7 with Tifa.
Tifa. Yeah. But like in 8, there's like a kid who's like his whole build is like I can't remember.
I have the visual. I can't remember the name.
Yeah, but that's what this is reminding me of, like those old Final Fantasy days.
Yeah,
where it's like this is like
Yeah, Tifa, ultimately Tifa.
Yeah. I'm sure there's more MMOs that I've never really been a fan of MMOs, and it took me a while to get there. Tamriel Online didn't help. And neither did Destiny. So I think that's why I don't have the same experience as these kids do in this game. But I get the satisfaction. I get the emotional attachment to like NPCs and getting invested in the story. Yeah. And I think Shangri-La Frontier does this better than I think any other game show that any other show based on a game.
Not even with anime, even like movies,
Yeah.
like even war games.
Well, the fact that they show these other games too.
Yeah.
And it's like how broken they are and what they've done with them. And I'm like, I could see that happening.
Yeah.
And the first broken game, technically it's a parody of Zelda. That's beautiful.
And then, but like playing Destiny with Jamaal and how broken that game was, it's like, it just reminded me of like, yep, we've done this.
You've been there.
Yep, I've been there.
And it's kind of like what you said, what Martin said. It's like, this was made by people that's played.
They know games, yeah.
They know games.
Yeah, these people
They've been there. They know what this is like. Like having that experience of having just those broken games.
And that's why Sanraku is a fascinating character. Like, I don't adore him, but I know gamers like him. I know, like, the ethos of being a true gamer.
Well, he reminds me of my godson. It's like my godson manages to pull things off that like I wouldn't do. Like when he was playing one of those Resident Evil games, he kept going back to like platinum it.
Yeah.
And like he was like, oh, I have to do a speed run through this section of the game with only like one gun.
Yeah.
Or this gun or that gun. And then I get to unlock this and I can do a speed run with like the rocket launcher or whatever. So it's like, it reminded me of like that, where he's like, he knows, but that's what Sanraku reminded me of. It's like, I'm going to just do this and it's going to give me skills for this other game, but I'm not really thinking about that other game yet. It's just, I'm focused on beating this. And it's like, I'm going to take those skills from this into that. And there's no real like, there's ego, but there's not like in bottom tier where it's like, oh, I'm the top guy.
No.
Yeah, like that reputation comes like, it's just his desire to beat the game on his terms. Yeah. Yeah.
Early contender.
Yeah, for Anime of the Year.
Anime of the Year, early contender.
If it's not in the list, then I don't know what Crunchyroll's doing.
Opening as well.
I think it has to be.
So, Apothecary. All right, let's do it.
Apothecary Diaries.
Yeah, well, we'll start from the beginning because me and Edwin read the first. I technically read the first 3 volumes. Edwin read about the same stretch, a little bit further.
No, I think I read the first 2 or 3.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't think I read beyond that. But I remember when I read it, I was like, "This is really good. This is really, really good." And when I heard the anime was being announced, I was really excited for that. But I had no idea how good the show would end up being, or how well animated. Talk about like best animation for the year, like movie quality on some of those episodes. Some of those arcs get like movie level quality. Fact that if you put enough money into a live action production of this, it would probably be one of the best things people would be watching right now. The fact that it's a historical drama, a mystery show, a comedy, a slight love interest. I mean, you pretty much have everything that you're looking for in an anime. And not only that, it does it so well. Mm-hmm. The acting, the voice acting, the music, the storytelling, the settings, it all comes to life. Nothing seems anachronistic. I mean, you don't feel like it's too modern. You feel like everything, that there's a really close attention to the time period and the constraints of that, like the cultural constraints. Like Mao continuously is always talking about like her position in this society and how it affects her and how it limits her, where these people who don't understand that are like, well, it shouldn't. And she's like, well, it should. This is the world that we live in. This is the world the way it is. Why should I get different treatment from everyone else, except when it comes to poisons and like whatever it is that she's fascinated by. But that's really interesting that the story goes to those links of like, if she wants to leave, she has to have like this guy with her, and how that sets off kind of like a jealousy little arc with what's this guy's name?
Genshi?
With Genshi.
Or Genshi.
With him, and like he's like, oh, what's happening? And so you have like, and then when he goes to find out, when he goes to get information, she thinks like, oh, he's going to do this. And so you get that misunderstandings between the two of them. And
Because they're always trying to get over on one another.
oh yeah,
They're always trying to get over on one another.
What's a
He's
little
like, I
chess-
got you.
Yeah.
And then she's like, nah, I got him.
What's a little chess match
Yeah.
between the two of them, regardless of whether like she sees where her position in society is, she still wants to one up him and like win, because it's like that's her personality. Like she's like, oh, I'm gonna get,
and it's on a whim. Like whenever he undermines her, or whenever he's like trying to like hide the fact of this mystery or story, and she,
He's always scheming.
yeah.
He's always scheming,
Yeah.
but she's always scheming too.
Yeah.
They're two peas in a pod.
Yeah.
very.
Because they're both they're both always trying to get one up. They're always trying to get one over the other. So he's like, all right, I got her. I'm going to send her out on this mission, but I'm going to be right there. And
Yep,
he
he's gonna
walks up behind her. She's like,
Yep. It's like, what are you doing here?
And similar to what was the one show, Delicious in Dungeons, with the animations of the faces. This
man.
one's
Yeah.
even better because this one feels like a chibi like comic strip side panel.
Well, reaction shots alone.
the reaction.
And mind you, we're describing this as a grand epic, like almost borderline court drama.
Yeah.
It has like one of the best animations ever, where she's getting kicked out by the by the cocky minds, and every time she gets kicked out, she just does a plop plop like
You get the Chibli.
Super Mario Brothers.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's the Super Mario Brothers 2 of Looney Tunes. It's great. I love it.
What's definitely like modern anime, where you get that blend of like Chibli cutesy animation mixed with like breathtaking award-winning animation.
Moments.
Yeah.
And we're recording after episode 20, but I still have yet to see episode 20 because of episode 19. And
Yeah, Jack refuses to go after episode 19 because he feels like it's the end of the season.
it's the best.
Well,
episode.
that was a perfect moment in the like epic nature of like I feel the show, where you really get kind of like, if you want to talk about her status and position in society,
That was that episode.
that was that episode.
Yeah.
Where it's like she's trying to save a noble, and she's like blunt force trauma reminded. She's brutally reminded of who she is and what her position in society is. That was to the feels, man, because you've been on this girl's side for this entire show, and then to watch that happen, you're just like, did they just go there?
And she knows it's going to happen.
Yeah.
She plans for it to happen in order to get what she wants.
Yeah. Well, she baits him, but I don't think she was
Yeah.
expecting for him to like go as far as he
Yeah.
did, because he goes like, Jesus. And then to have her dad there, it's just like, and I think he didn't even realize.
Spoiler, by the way.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I don't think he realized how far that was going to go
Yeah.
in this situation. And he was kind of like taken aback. Like,
The ultimate schemer.
yeah.
The ultimate schemer. That he didn't realize how far it was going to go. Like, she knew that she failed, but then when she turned around and saw her dad,
She was like, ugh.
and she's like, she was so sickened
Yeah.
by the fact that he's the one that's going to let her be able to get through what she wants to do. So she's going to accomplish her goal, but it's because of him.
Yeah.
And you see this internal conflict, even if it's for a second, you see this internal conflict in her face where it's just like, I owe you one.
And I know that voice.
Well, she took 2 hits.
Yeah.
She took that hit, and then she took the hit of like relying on her dad, which was like, ugh.
Well, the bring you up to speed.
Well, her biological.
Biological.
The bring you up to speed. He turns out to be part of the court. He's a military strategist. And if I may ask you guys, did you guys see that coming? Because I did not see that coming.
Yes.
What? Who he was?
Yeah, that and if they would reveal her father that soon.
I
That
knew
soon. It's episode 19.
No, but
like,
I knew it.
That could have been like a mystery until season 3 for all we know. At least in my eyes.
I knew it.
All right.
I knew it.
It had to.
As soon as it was revealed that like her dad was when Jinshi found out that her dad wasn't the dude that was exiled, that she's actually a noble.
Yeah.
I was like, and then that dude just kept coming by being creepy. I'm like, oh, I know it's him.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's him because he's scheming too much with Jinshi because he knows that she's around. So
and
I'm like,
that he takes a liking towards her. Yeah.
yeah, so I'm like,
Well, he's always had because they've always you get the during the I think the previous episode or the one close to it, you get they reveal to you that they've kind of been hiding her whenever he's around.
yeah,
And like you're like, oh,
they
okay.
they did say Jinchi made a point of saying that he tries to keep her away whenever he's around.
Well, no, even at the brothel.
Oh yeah,
Yeah, at the brothel when she's taking care of like what may be her mom.
that's her mom.
Okay, yeah,
It's
I
her
wasn't
mom because
clear on
they
that,
talked
yeah.
about how
Because they had that flashback where she looked like she was being stabbed as a baby and shows that woman. I have a weird feeling it could be like that exiled concubine as well in the court.
No, because what happened was that like he wanted to be with her.
yeah,
He wanted to buy her out.
so he had to devalue her.
Yeah, so he got her pregnant, and
Yeah,
then he
exactly.
got her. She got is that syphilis?
I think so.
syphilis.
She has
syphilis.
some kind of like
So
where
I think
like
I think it's syphilis.
Yeah, and this is like around 1000 AD, so medical treatments aren't that refined just yet.
no,
No, medical treatments have nothing for syphilis.
Yeah.
no,
They've got nothing for it.
yeah,
Oh, no.
So
she's gonna die.
she's gonna die. Yeah. So again, because like you said, he wanted to buy her out, and that was a thing that they talked about. Jinshi and Lacan talked about earlier. Like, how do you devalue
A
the concubine?
Yeah.
Pregnancy.
or not a concubine, a courtesan.
A courtesan. And Jinshi's like trying to figure it out. And this is when you find out, like, this is how you do. You get her pregnant. Because then she has no value. And then after that, I mean, where you go?
Well, she's not untouched too.
Yeah.
Yeah, and some of them could maintain that because the more successful and the more entertaining they were,
Yeah.
they could essentially like say, "Hey, I'm not going to do that,
Yeah.
but I have other things that I can do."
The status.
Yeah,
Which is kind of like how Mao Mao was.
Yeah. Well, that one guy that she went with, he's like, he pays X amount of dollars, where he pays just to go and like catch a glimpse of his lady that he spent like an evening with, and we're not even sure that anything happened. But he became so enamored that he keeps going back, just like this strategist became so enamored of Mao Mao's mom, where he's like, "Oh, I want her," and like, "No, dude, there's not enough money," and so he got vengeful and like, yeah. Because when Jinshi brings it up, he says that face that she made was terrifying.
Yeah.
He knew, but he wanted to confirm.
Yep.
And when
And
he
he did.
saw that face,
And
he was like, okay.
even though it's memed, because this is still, it was only like a barely a millisecond of that look, and it's jarring. I'm like, ooh, I was wrong, because I thought like it had some tie in with the Emperor, but it doesn't.
No, it's like just the side. It's that side of it's that. It is.
A trauma response.
It's an ugliness born of. It's an irrational face based on like rational like things that have happened.
Oh yeah.
She has such a deep hatred of that man and what he's done that like that's where that face comes from. Like that is pure on hatred. That's not something I think that you can fuel like all the time.
No.
But like in that moment, like that's like I hate this person face. Yeah. And like I wish I'd wipe them off the face of the planet. Yeah, and it's like Jamaal said, like her having to owe him anything is a hit.
Oh yeah.
But she does it to save whatever noble is there, and it just happens to be Jinchi.
Yep.
And she still is like, what?
Yeah, because she was kind of concussed.
And Jack, you gotta watch episode
I
20.
know.
gotta
I
watch
was,
episode
after this discussion, that's
There's so much in that episode,
Yeah.
like
You got a lot that you got to watch.
yeah, because you
I
think
I get where you're like, that's the end of the season. I don't care. But there's so much more.
it's a
that you
guaranteed
gotta
top 10
see.
of the year for me too.
So-
Wow.
like I'm gonna have a quick discussion with Jamaal, but I'm gonna coach it in a different way.
Fair.
So, do you think that was so? Who do you think is the Moriarty? You get what I'm saying? Yeah. Because there's definitely at this point, it's like, do you think that he's like involved in that, or he's just like separate scheming, and the Moriarty, this person, has a bigger role to play going forward?
It's
Because that's definitely like somebody's playing a game.
somebody's playing a game, and we know And that's the interesting thing, because it's like
Who's playing
you
this
have
game
this
and to what
suspicion.
end? Yeah.
Who is calling the shots?
Yeah. Is it the Emperor or is it someone
And it's like we don't know.
And I knew the Emperor had to be involved somehow. Somehow, somewhere.
Well, we don't know yet.
We
Jack.
don't know yet.
But there's definitely
we don't know yet, because also at the end of the episode we get a little more information about Jinshi and his standing as well.
Yeah.
So and it kind of plays into why he was there in episode 19. 20,
all these little things that led up to him being this series of coincidences that all led up to that moment that play out throughout the entire series.
Yeah, because it breaks down his persona, and we get a better idea of his true age.
Yeah, that in his eunuch
we get
status.
a better idea of his true age, because we all know he's not telling the truth about his age, and she mentions that previously, but we get an idea of it.
Yeah,
with his discussion with his what's his assistant's name?
Oh, again.
Yeah,
I like that character. He's good.
He's a very good character.
Well, he's older too.
Yeah,
Because
he's way older.
We can't tell Jack.
He's older.
I have a sense of what you guys are talking about, though. I could. It's not like a spoiler per se, but it's more like, all right, let's go that route.
You need to watch it.
Fair.
So
it works as a recap. Like, I was kind of disappointed because I wanted there to be more blowback.
Yeah,
I wanted the events of episode 19 to have a little bit more of a repercussion, but to play out a little bit more.
Yeah.
Before we jumped into the oh, this is everything that's going on, and let's get back to the mystery thing.
I agree.
Yeah, because I felt like that was a moment where it's like,
that was a big moment.
yeah, it was huge.
That should have been
and it was kind of glossed over a little bit.
It was a little glossed over.
Yeah.
But it was a little glossed over because they're trying to figure this thing out.
Yeah.
Because it's like things keep happening.
Yeah.
And so
they needed her. The thing is that they always need her because she's the one not at the center of it all, but at the center of it all.
Yeah.
He's the one who's actually at the center of it all.
He's definitely the one in the center of it all.
Because he's the target.
He
turns out to be he was the target all along. She can't really be bed rest or they don't have that romantic moment where it's I carried you all this way.
Right.
I'm not usually in shows like this. I'm not usually the romantic guy.
Right.
I'm usually focused on the mystery and what's going on. But because of what happens to her, you could see when he's carrying her away from the palace or away from the place with the bell. When he's carrying her, you can see that concern. You can see that well,
we've all. I think us as the viewer has always seen that in him.
Yeah, but I
think when she wakes up, first of all, when she sees that he's the one in there, was a little jarring, and then when he wakes up and she's in his chambers instead of in the hospital, I think it sets something in her mind all right, all this time I've been kind of against this guy, but he's really always been there.
Yeah.
And I think it really set in her mind all right, maybe he's doing more for me than I actually think, because she just thinks of him as this sneaky guy that doesn't want to do his job and is pushing all this stuff on her. And it's
and he's just a pretty boy.
Yeah, and he's just a pretty boy. But it's
no, there's more to
this.
There's
more to this story.
And more to his, he might actually genuinely have feelings for her.
First of all, this guy is actually somebody.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
This eunuch that you think that he's not that guy.
No.
So she sees it and she's questioning in her head, why is he here? He's a eunuch. He shouldn't. She's trying to figure this stuff out.
What's his position?
And then it's before, when he was going to the brothel to meet the girls or whatever. And she's like, why is he? So it's these smaller discussions that were happening. And now she sees them and it's all coming together. It's okay, this is...
Yeah, and when she solved the mystery, will she figure out what's going on before we do?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And she's like, okay, there's more to this guy. So I think that was a revealing moment for her more than him because he's always felt that for her. But I think she needed that to change her perception of him a bit.
Yeah. We'll have to see how that plays out too, because it doesn't, like in that, like I said, in that episode, it didn't seem to be as effective, I think, as it could have been.
I agree.
Yeah.
I agree. I think they transitioned to the next plot a little too quickly.
I mean, yeah.
I think they needed to let that
Breathe.
breathe a little bit.
Yeah.
I think they needed to let that breathe a little bit. But it's like you said, they rely on her way too much. She's gone from like just the apothecary that's like, oh, this person's sick.
She's basically like kind of like the school, the mage.
No,
like,
she's become Gil Grissom.
yeah.
Well, it was always going to be, like, you caught pretty early on, like, it was always going to be, like, not the mystery of the week, but, like, enough of a mystery show where you're just like, all right, this is a mystery show.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, this is a court drama. This is kind of a romance, too. They're setting her up to be kind of like the mystery. Like, yeah, and then because she has all of these skills, she's able to solve these things, and like she's good at seeing people's motivations too, like actually a little bit better than they are.
Yeah, she's Gil Grissom.
Yeah. But she has gaps too, which I think is very interesting. So she's not like infallible.
Yeah, I agree. And we saw that with the little as Jack brought up, the little sketchy exiled
Oh, the old man.
the courtesan.
Oh, the courtesan. Yeah,
That's
she's
built-
interesting. I like
that
her.
built up the garden that she
Yeah,
found
yeah.
Mao Mao in. Like from that moment, you're like, I don't know if I trust this.
Yeah. That's why I had like a hint that could be her mom, but it's not. Yeah.
No, it's not her mom. That's definitely not her mom. But you can tell that they're eventually going to get into some sort of cat and mouse game. Just because she's like, this girl knows a lot.
Well, I think she's on the radar now.
She's on the radar. Yes.
Like she got herself
She's
on the radar.
She got
now.
herself on the radar.
And so now she's like, bigger players know like who she is. It's going to be interesting to see how that plays out with Jinshi, how that plays out with her dad.
Yep.
And then how that plays out with the Emperor. Because at the end of the day, he has to become involved one way or another. Because it's like,
There's too much going on.
yeah, there's too much going on, and this is his house. And it's like, and I think Jinshi has something to do with like, I don't know if he's on a mission from the Emperor, but he's definitely trying to weed out. He's there for a bigger purpose than just to like find out like what kind of intrigue is going on. Because to risk his to risk that just to keep peace
Yeah.
in the rear palace, I'm not buying that.
Me neither.
Yeah, so that has to be a much, much bigger deal.
I knew it was some type of swerve like that.
Well, there's a
Well, we knew that from the beginning because
knew-
he was
yeah.
never like. We always knew he wasn't like your typical eunuch and your typical. We knew there was nothing typical about him.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like she might have thought so, but we like there was enough.
Well, her observations are kind of funny. She's like, he does kind of look pretty. And then that episode where he had to dress down and look ugly, he's like, oh, that's how you do it.
That was hilarious.
you get a little more on that in episode 20.
Yes.
Like you get a little more on that and how he comes to have the looks that he does.
Well.
Though I understand what Jack's doing, and I
get it
understand
too.
like because there's been shows where it's like I don't want them to end, and so I won't
Yeah,
finish them.
and for the
like,
keen
on purpose.
and for the keen listener, because Kyle mentioned he didn't see it, and he was genuinely curious.
I still don't think he knows what an apothecary is.
I don't think a lot of people do. I don't think it's a term that's bounced around.
Yeah,
a lot
that's why I
now.
knew he was lying.
Yeah, like
Yeah, I
know
called you a liar, Kyle.
the British use the term chemist.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, but I've never heard them like use the apothecary.
Well, the sense of like people interested in herbs and like medicinal purposes.
Well, yeah, I mean, I know what an apothecary is, but it's like it's not a term that gets bounced around. Like
That's what I mean.
modern, like yeah.
But once the people going that garden lifestyle, the cottage core people, they'll probably pick that up
Oh.
pretty fast. Yeah.
Aren't those just witches?
Well, you got Ancient Mage's Bride, for example. That type of like cottage core for anime. That
Oh
is.
Lord.
Oh, that was so. Yeah, man. This is a great show. Again, another early contender of anime of the year.
Yeah.
For sure.
Most definitely.
The two guarantees for me are Shangri-La and Apothecary. So
Shangri-La Apothecary, and I'm sure Freeing's going to be up there too.
Freeing has an interesting arc.
It's going to have to be. Isn't that still number 1 on my anime list?
Of course, it'll probably be there for a good amount until maybe even Kaiju number 8. Who knows?
Well, that's a good segue
that's
into
a great
like the next
segue.
season.
Because I had to look and double check and like, oh my god,
Yeah.
oh my god.
I think I sent you.
Season. Yeah, we definitely had a discussion about this.
Yeah, we already talked about this a little bit.
But we haven't talked about it to you all. But next season is going to be stacked, man.
I'll quickly mention movies because I read the manga for this first volume called Dead Demon, and once I read that first volume, like, I'll watch it. I don't like it to the manga format. I'm pretty sure it'll be better as an anime format.
Let's see. We've got we've got Konosuba
Season 3. Official season 3.
Yeah, which like I think a lot of people are going to lose their minds just from that.
Yeah.
We got
speaking of another season 3, a recapper, an actual season 3 reincarnated as a slime.
I know that's coming up. I'm excited for that. Mushko Tensei can get a chance to redeem itself.
An actual season 3, the real season 2. I don't know.
Well, it's the second half of the second season.
Oh no, even better, better.
Oh, get out of here with your Attack on Titan people. Don't even give me that. But like, yeah, dude. Then people are getting another season of My Hero Academia,
Season
which I'm
7.
sure they will lose their shit over.
I did like season 6.
You did mention that. That was in.
And then Demon Slayer's coming back.
God damn it!
And that's always
stop.
Demon Slayer is always like, even like,
it's never bad.
No, even the Sword Slayer arc, like for me, or the Sword Village arc, it wasn't as epic as the Entertainment District arc, but it still had some of the strongest like art direction, character design. Like when I was looking at the Crunchyroll Awards, I'm like, this has to win some of these.
That was one of the toughest categories.
Like character design by itself, with that when they're getting into the top tier demons, like the dude just splits himself off into like 5 different like characters.
Oh yeah.
And then Nezuko and like
even the CGI, like we never even talk about the CGI, how they use in Demon Slayer is pretty impressive.
They use it pretty well. I've never had like a real complaint.
Yeah,
I have no complaints with what they do. We talked about how there was a slight dearth of story, but there was so much action, and the action was so good.
It's too good
that you can't. But I think we're at that point in the show now where it's just going to be straight action.
Yep.
So, like, and I'm fine with that. I'm fine with that because it's an exciting watch. It's an exciting watch. It's comfortable, but it's exciting.
And another season 3 had one. I'm not sure if you saw this. Laid back.
Oh
yes.
Yeah.
Like, check.
Come on, please.
Oh wow.
Come on. Come on, dude. I'm so hyped for this. That has been my comfort anime of the decade. I'm trying to stop myself from buying another Rin figure. I have to.
There's a lot of them. There
are.
Yeah.
There's another one with her in a purple jacket.
Do you have any that Deshko?
No.
Wow.
Yeah, I'm almost, but her figures never look as good as the Rin figures.
Yeah.
So I was debating on buying my 3rd Rin figure. So it's like, and I still have like, there's 3 posters on my wall. There's the Freenin that Jack got me. There's Kamui with the umbrella, and then there's a laid back camp print by this one artist that I saw at C2E2.
Wow!
I went on their website, and they were the only. She was the only one who had ever done a laid back camp print with all of the characters around a fire and like food. And I'm like, I have to buy this.
This is that one.
Yeah. So it's like, but one of the other ones that obviously,
Kaiju.
Well, the slime.
Oh yeah.
I'm really excited finally to get an actual another season.
Yes.
Not filler, not add-on, not a movie that doesn't serve any purpose in the story. Yeah. It's like actual content to see where this is going to go, to see how dark this is going to get.
And it's been a while.
Yeah, it's been a long time.
It's been a couple years at least.
Yeah, it's been like, I think the length of the podcast, really.
Yeah, because that was one of the first 2 or 3 episodes we did.
That we
So that
talked
was
about,
what 2021.
Yeah.
So yeah, we're talking 3 years we had to wait.
In the waiting, yeah. And then you've got like Kaiju number 8,
Which
I
again
think,
goes to show you is not just a Netflix thing. That's a studio thing. They just got things that they got to get to.
that's anime. That's the world of anime.
Yeah.
And one more season 3 they have to mention. Duke of Death season 3.
Really?
Okay.
This fast? Wow, Jack.
Jack does love his
You're
Duke
getting,
of Death.
yeah. You're getting, you're getting served,
But
sir.
stop.
Yeah, it's
This is
dude,
a
That's why I like this
very-
past season because Delicious in the Dungeon. Undead Unwanted Adventurer.
It was a let me up.
Yeah.
It was a let me up season.
I wish I did more catchbacks. That's what I'm hoping for this next
It
season.
was a let me up season. Even with like,
With the big heavy hitters?
Yeah, even with like Freeing and Apothecary, where it can get like a little emotionally heavy. It was still kind of like I could just sit back and enjoy this.
And free and you could binge because they're technically in the same scenario.
Did you see that they're coming out with like a prequel novel?
Yes. You share that link.
Freeing.
It's gonna be 5 parts too.
the whole point is that it's not like, it's the after story.
It'll be like Jesus Kaisen 0. It'll just be there. It is what it is.
No,
It's the after story. It's okay. We don't need it. That's the whole point of the show.
I know.
but
I'm
you
just
know
saying.
it's popular, man.
Yeah. Well,
It's popular, so they're going to be pumping out content.
I think a big one is going to be this Kaiju.
Kaiju number 8 is going to
Yeah.
be a big one.
Yeah. I think
And
that's going to be
another one where I read.
I read the first volume.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I read.
It's going to be Jujutsu Kaisen meets My Hero.
I need to see the anime. That's one of those ones. Like, hey, it's good art, but I need to see the anime.
I want to see that girl with the tiger
Yeah.
because once I see her with the tiger,
And
then I'm going to know whether or not this is going to be a good show.
I think
'cause
Mappa's doing it.
I think it's going to be a good
insane.
show. I agree with Edwin. I think there's going to be a big one.
And then Jack, you get your Spice and Wolf reboot.
The reboots.
Yep.
Yep. My number one most anticipated.
Really?
I previously saw the original 2 seasons prior because I got the Blu-ray because Blu-ray's awesome. I saw it at Con. I'm like, I need it. And it was relatively cheap. I'm like, all right, gotta buy it. And I rewatched it. I enjoy the second season more than the first season now. And I used to be the other way around. This is my third time rewatching it. Of course, they're rebooting it, so it's kind of stalling because the story is inconclusive. And there's also a new story, a new manga series. It hasn't caught out with the fans, but overall, it's going back to the roots. The same voice actors. Elda is going to be back as Holo. I can't. Yeah. Like how you guys are excited
He's
for
blushing.
Kaiju number 8. It's my same vibe.
No, I'm not as excited as you. Trust me. Like
know,
I'm
for
looking
Kaiju?
forward to
Yeah.
it. I'm looking forward to it.
What
but
will be your number
Jack,
one?
you're gushing.
What will be your number one most anticipated then, Jamal?
I don't have a number one most
Dang it.
anticipated.
Not even Demon Slayer.
No, I got too much going on. I'm just going to be lucky to fit it in the schedule. So like, but there's a lot. Again, there's a lot coming out.
Very
so
much so.
like, just like listening to the titles, and I'm like thinking this is just the stuff that I've seen already. So it's like, oh my god, I got to make space for these 5 shows or whatever.
Well, like a dark horse would be like this bartender show.
Yeah.
Well, that's what I was about
Yeah.
to get to.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
I'm like, that's not even including the newer shows. So it's like, okay, I got to do that. And then it's like, if I wanted to watch like Laid Back Camp season 3, I'd have to go back and watch 1 and 2 to catch up with you all.
Yeah.
Or
And
watch or watch like watch Spice and Wolf. And it's like that. It's so, if I think about it, it'll get a little bit overwhelming.
Yeah, and then we're not even talking about like other populars like Data Life. That's season 5 coming up. Yeah, exactly. It's popular. Neon.
Oh, a continuing series.
Yep. Yeah, I know. Sound Imperium has a cult following. That one's going to be another season 3. They're regular at Magic High School. Season 3.
Yep. I was reincarnated as the 7th prince, so I can take my time perfecting my magical ability. Another isekai for me to watch.
And Whisper Me a Love Song. That could be Sailor Uniform vibes. I'll watch it.
Whisper Me a Love Song.
Yep.
Yeah, that sounds like a Jack show.
And it looks like a girl love. But also, hey, another one for Edwin. Bochi the Rock. It's going to have a recap movie.
Which I don't understand.
They're gonna ataxi us.
Yeah.
I feel like it's just going to be cut.
It said
cut
re,
up,
so-
cut up first season with music performances.
Odd Taxi.
Yeah.
They're going to Odd Taxi into the woods.
Yeah. Yeah, that's exactly what they're doing.
You know, these anime, like, I don't understand why they do this stuff.
Well, you just said, I was just.
It's so frustrating.
It's the same argument that you just had with me about the Free-In prequel.
Yeah.
It's like, it's popular. They're going to do it. They have to come up with something.
Give me an original story. Don't cut up what I've already seen. Like, what? Like, I give them credit because they get to just recycle material that they've already put out and monetize it. But it's like the Demon Slayer movie. Like, why am I going to sit there and pay for 2 episodes that I've already seen and an episode that I'm going to see in a couple weeks? Why would I do that? But millions of people do it. I'm like, this is insane. And that's why they keep doing it. They
Keep making the money off of it.
They keep making the money off of it. I'm not doing it. Like, if I went to see Odd Taxi in the movie theaters, I would have been upset.
I would have too.
I would have been upset. Yeah. And they promised us, like, ooh, we're going to get, like, new stuff. It's in the end credits. Oh, I would have been mad. I would have been livid.
Well, you get, it's the way it's structured is you get people being interviewed as it goes along. But the fact that they were interviewed as animals, it kind of made, like what?
Right. Like, we saw the
Spoilers, by the way.
It's over.
Oh, Jesus. That was like, how many years ago?
That was 3 years ago.
Yeah.
People are like, they're doing lists of like, oh, you have to see this. Oh, I text. I'm like,
It's like, where have you guys been? Have you
Exactly.
guys not been listening to the podcast?
It was 3 years ago.
How much did we gush over Odd Taxi?
and there's a second episode, so
Yeah.
on those.
I give you, like, a year and a half, maybe 2 years.
But that one's like a film.
I give you, like, a year and a half,
I-
maybe 2 years. And then after that, I'm like, if you haven't seen it, you're not going to watch it. I don't want...
like
Spoilers. Spoiler time is over.
It's hard.
You can't spoil it.
It's hard to say that though for us because it's like we've just talked about like how this goes for us, where it's like it's difficult for us to watch all these shows. Mm-hmm. So it gets to that point where it's like the casual fan. How many shows are they watching? Like a season, you know?
And we're like the top tier of catching up. These shows.
We watch a lot of shows. Between the three of us, and then if we include everybody else,
I mentioned gushing
gets-
over Magical Girls.
That's why-
Oh my god.
what are you talking about?
That's why I'm glad.
Where did that even come from? I'm talking about the amount of anime that we're able
We've
to watch.
That's what I
Covered.
mean.
Yeah.
Like including that.
Oh, you-
Because like when we were talking about like I've been like keeping tally of like the favorites as we've like
Undead Unwanted Adventurer, that should be a top tier critically if people gave it a chance.
I think so too.
yeah.
But it's not. It's not popular, and I can understand.
Yeah.
Like we haven't even touched Ragnar Crimson, and that's season 2 right now, and that's ranked top 10. Okay, I'll catch it up when I can.
Yeah.
I'll get. I mean, but a lot of that stuff is there because it's easily accessible,
Yeah.
right? Because it's like on Netflix. Everybody has Netflix.
Yeah.
So like that stuff it's on the top just because of sheer numbers.
The Ninja Kamui has a little. I've seen it here and there memes already. I'm like, all right.
It's getting there, but it's not going to
cooking.
be on the top 10 because it's like you got such a small audience that has Max.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right? But if you have Netflix, that's why your Finland Sagas and your Ragnar Crimsons and whatnot will reach the top because it's like if you're somebody
More access.
that's new to anime, these are shows that are easily accessible to you and they're being heavily promoted on there. So it's like, all right, I'll watch Ragnar Crimson. And that again goes into the thing where it's like, is it quality? Is it popularity? Part of it is the popularity just because like as everyone said, sheer numbers. Everybody has Netflix. If this is the big thing on Netflix, if that's what they have. That's what you have to watch. We all know the trials and tribulations of trying to find something to watch on Netflix.
It's like I don't even browse anymore. It's like a weird like.
It's difficult,
browsing.
man. They have everything but nothing.
App.
Yeah. Well, they put so many things in like these categories where it's just like half the time you're like, do you really have that many shows, or are you just stuffing these categories with the same stuff? And then after a while, it's like my brain goes into like there's stuff that I should watch, stuff that I want to watch, stuff that I may watch, and stuff that I'm never gonna watch. And it's like, all right, my brain has just given up because it's like overwhelmed by the amount of selection. So it's like I watch whatever I'm in the mood for, and that's usually just anime. Because it requires less thought. I don't have to like. I know there's a variety of stuff.
I always think of your coworker how I mentions it's just good storytelling. I'm like, duh, yeah, he gets it. Oh my god, he gets it.
Well, it's like I started with with Avatar, I'm starting to see like because it's only 6 episodes or because it's only 8 episodes, the cable format, that kind of format, there's a shorthand to it where it's like they have to establish these beats within the time period that they have. So a lot of things are going to be similar because they can't do the arcs that anime does because it has 12 to 24 episodes. And then you get the same kind of like standard story where like it kind of becomes like shonen-esque, where you're like, you have this one character who has to become the strongest or has to overcome X, Y, and Z. And it's like, okay, you just regurgitated like 20 young adult books. And it's like, I've seen this plot before. Now there's just a spaceship in it. You know, like I was watching Lost in Space, and I'm like, oh my god.
Speaking of throwback.
Yeah, I was watching Lost in Space in that last episode where the girl, she's in fact brave and she's a hero. And I'm like, why is this happening in the last 2 episodes of the 3rd season?
Oh, dear God.
You know, it's like,
Oh, dear God.
Why did you make this character? Why are you doing this in like the finale? This should have happened like 20 episodes ago. Like, yeah. Well, that's the end of my Netflix rant.
And,
my mini Netflix rant.
And with that said, it's been a privilege, gentlemen.
Yes, thank you,
We
sir.
covered a lot of ground. It's definitely been one of our best seasons. So,
Yep.
This was a very robust season, and we could tell because we planned on spending an hour and a half on this, and we spent 4.
Yeah.
So
There was a lot of good shows. There was a lot of good content.
a lot of good content. We had a lot of good stuff that carried over from winter or fall. You know, some ups and downs in the winter. Some stuff that we liked, some stuff that we didn't, but
Some that fell off.
some that fell off. But overall, it was a solid season.
I agree.
It was a solid season, and I think we covered a lot of ground with it, man. So, you know, one day we'll have to do a catch up on something from this season that's worth it.
Yeah.
I don't
or
know,
in general. Yeah.
like
Yeah.
a deep dive or something.
Yeah. All right. Thank you, guys. Thank you, guys, for tuning in. This has been a presentation of the 950 Club.
Did we ever intro the show?
We did it.
We were
It's
like,
fun.
let's fucking talk.
Yeah.
Shangri-La, God damn it. Thank you for listening in to another great 950 Club session. Our ultra, once again, ultra catch-up of winter 2024. Please like, subscribe, download, and share, and comment, and do anything and everything to get the word across of the 950 Club Anime Podcast. And we'd like to thank you, dear listener, for listening to our longest episode ever. And I must emphasize with the social media more. And we're doing a little bit better with Twitter. Instagram's usually our go-to platform. But YouTube is rising up with numbers, and so is our podcast form. So if you're liking it and you're downloading it, we thank you wholeheartedly. And yes, we'll have more deep dive reviews coming soon and more catch-ups along the way. Thank you once again, and goodbye for now.